Why do I only see me?
What do you mean? Why do you only see you?
Oh, because
you're
it's how
looking in a mirror.
Skype does it. Since there's a
A screen
Now
share.
we're-
it's called screen share.
Okay.
So you'll only see you and whoever's currently like sharing the stream or whoever's being the loudest.
But it's okay.
Like,
You
it's
can,
usually
I guess you can kind of
usually
see you can see everyone else on the screen share, I suppose.
Yeah, you can see everyone on the screen share. Oh god, there's the thumbnail on Twitch.
Wait, where?
What the?
Well, it's delayed. It was his part 1 video.
Oh yeah. We have all 3 of the videos. We can
Yeah, I
show
know.
stills or indeed motion from
Yeah.
any of them, and I guess we will be doing that. I'll just do the tweet. There we go.
Yep.
There we go.
I'll pause my stanky ass hip hop music.
Is that the best music to farm to?
Hell yeah. That and Elvis Christmas music.
Really?
Mm.
Huh,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's Christmas
You heard
time
of
now,
him?
guys.
Oh, yeah, it
Halloween
is.
is over. It's Christmas
Yeah.
now.
That's very true. It's already being capitalized on by the supermarkets. Already seeing all that Christmas merchandise.
I saw some stuff go up before Halloween, and that was sad.
I think you're quite popular here, Nemesis. They like you.
Nemesis.
Yeah, I had Batresh announce the stream on the Necromancer forum
Oh,
because I'm still banned from the official
Oh.
forums
That's unfortunate.
Still?
why is that, Nemesis?
Because they don't like him.
because I'm not allowed to discuss the actions of moderators on the official forums.
Yes.
Okay.
Spoj said I'm trying to get Nemesis banned, and the moderator removed that. And I replied to that. Everywhere he wrote, I said, I kept saying the same thing formulated differently. So I don't double post because that's illegal as well. So I said, okay, fine, get me banned. Can I have your footage now? Please show me your footage. I'll do the work. I'll calculate the DPS for everyone live on Twitch to see. And he kept saying, I hate that he said that, and I hate that he said this. I'm trying to get him banned. No one listens to Nemesis anyway. And I said, okay, give me your footage. Give me your footage. And the part with I'm trying to get Nemesis banned got removed by a moderator, and my reply got deleted as well in the process.
Right.
So I said, a moderator removed the part where he said he's trying to get me banned. Unfortunately, my reply got deleted as well, so I'm going to summarize again. And I got banned. And the message was, you're not allowed to discuss the actions of moderators on the official forums.
And that was a permaban.
No, I got banned for a few days.
Oh.
And I noticed a lot of people discussing the fact that threads got removed and stuff got removed and stuff, and I got banned and stuff like that. And they didn't get banned because now that they should. I was the only one that got banned. And I got banned for a few days. And people kept trolling me again. And at one point, someone said that no one was kicking Necromancer for their lack of damage, and no one was even thinking that despite what the Guild Wars 2 Messiah is trying to tell you. He actually said that. I'm like, dude, how can you lie to people like that when I have video footage of everything I said? Why do you even lie like that? And I said, there's too many trolls in the Guild Wars 2 community. I should have never come back. I should have never came back. And I got banned again for 2 weeks for insulting the troll by calling him troll.
Okay.
Well, so shall we start this off then? And I'll begin by asking you, Nemesis, is there any merit to theoretical spreadsheet DPS?
Spreadsheet DPS.
Spreadsheet
That's a good
DPS.
word.
There we go. It's a new word. Spreadsheet
the
DPS
only
calculation.
thing-
Starting the stream off well here.
The only thing those calculations are good for, the absolute only thing, is when you're not sure if it's worth it to press a certain skill, because it has multiple stuff in the description, should you press that skill or should you continue auto-attacking? When you're not sure in your DPS rotation. But even that is not always optimal because sometimes you have to respond to the PV encounter. For example, if you can't always maintain that perfect DPS rotation because sometimes you have to dodge, sometimes you have to put some invulnerabilities up and stuff like that. Not in really crap encounters, but in harder encounters you have to. So that's the only thing that math is good for.
Well, I agree with you in that regard, yeah, but I do think that it is useful to do these calculations because at least you get a feel of if conditions were perfect, you could do this much more as opposed to if you're doing this certain thing as opposed to doing something else. But I do agree with you because I mean I could do analogy with back in when I was playing WoW, I had a thief and I calculated that the best DPS I could do for a certain period of time before things were moved around and nerfed or whatever was actually doing backstab as a build, using backstab as a build and doing a backstab build and doing DPS that way. And it was slightly higher than your mutilate or whatever it was. But you could only backstab if you're behind the guy, and that's not going to happen all the time. So that's why you would never use backstab over mutilate, because of the situations where it'll never be useful. It's useful like 50% of the time, maybe. So
What the fuck is mutilate?
He's talking about a WoW
It's
terminology.
different. In World
Oh.
of Warcraft, you had aggro system.
yeah, that's true
And
too.
the combat, it wasn't so dynamic as it's here.
Hmm.
And armor wasn't actually a thing, and you didn't have such a big difference between power type attack and condition type damage. Here, condition type damage ignores all armor, and power type damage gets blocked by armor. That didn't happen in World of Warcraft, as far as I remember, back in Wrath of the Lich King. Also, you didn't have like these dodging maneuvers. For example, if you put a lot of bleedings on the target, if you dodge, the bleeds continue to do the damage. But if you don't dodge, as a power build, if you do dodge, you lose DPS uptime. And I calculated, I wrote just a few things that the math doesn't take into consideration and probably can't. If you're going to put them on screen.
Yep, we can do that right now. Yeah, if we just go.
Trinity form. Yeah,
oops,
people
volume.
so one dodge is 1 second. That's how long a dodge takes. 1 second. If let's say you dodge that way and you take just 1 second to reposition by the time you turn the camera or get in range or whatever, that's another 1 second. If you dodge 5 times in 30 seconds, because that's the maximum amount of times you can dodge, just dodge. If you dodge 5 times in 30 seconds, you lose between 5 to 10 seconds. That's time for melee power type DPS. That's a 30% DPS loss right there. And I don't mean this is just dodging. I don't mean people who we encounter a lot of the times and what actually happens in PA groups where people dodge, run around the room 5 times, come back to 100 place, the room 5 times. This is just dodging. So 30% DPS loss right there.
But in theory, you could account for DPS uptime. Surely the mistake here is assuming that you have 100%, right? So,
Assuming you will have the same DPS uptime everywhere, and there's no difference between melee and range. Because the reason why on paper melee DPS seems higher than range DPS is because to compensate exactly for this, for the dodges, for the times you have to move out of AoEs. If on paper melee DPS would be the same as range DPS, no one would ever play melee, ever, because because you do the same DPS, the same maximum DPS you do anyway, but you do it at range, and it's much safer. So why would you even take the risk of going in melee? And the game would be so fucking imbalanced. Everyone would be raging. It's not worth it to go melee. It's not worth it to go melee. Because on paper, melee DPS is higher to compensate for all these scenarios. The game is actually balanced. In reality, the game is balanced. In people's minds, it's not balanced. Because, we do more DPS in melee. No, you don't, because you dodge. And I've been saying this for, like, since the first time I heard this. I'm like, dude, you can't be like 100. You can't have 100% DPS uptime. You either absorb or dodge. That's how you can't be full glass cannon and keep attacking something, and it's never going to attack you back. Unless that's a target dummy. Of course it's going to attack you back. If you're good, you will dodge it. If you dodge it, you lose. If you're not good, you die. And you do nothing.
I have a couple of questions. So your calculation says you're doing 5 dodges in 30 seconds as a 30% DPS loss. Is that...
if you have vigor. If you have vigor.
Right. But will people be dodging that much? That you said that's the maximum amount of dodges you could do in that amount of time. Will people need to dodge that much?
That's the thing. In really crap content in dungeons, you don't need to. But in fractals and in other areas, you really do need to dodge.
Yeah. So it's a maximum 30% DPS loss from dodging. Yeah. Okay. The other question I have, so if you range, because you don't have to dodge as much, is good in that way, even though the damage is a little bit lower. But I think Brazil keeps on telling me that the reason people don't really do range is because you're out of the range of all the buffs you'll get if you're with your group. Are you saying that maybe a good idea would perhaps to have one guy be the guy with a little bit more toughness and stay next to the boss and dodge, do all that stuff, and then the rest of the group be at range, giving themselves all buffs and doing a bunch of damage, not having to dodge?
Exactly. You can't assume. I mean, you can, but it's not realistic. Once again, people assume full buffs and full debuffs in all encounters. Well, that's not realistic. Sometimes you can maintain full buffs and full debuffs while in melee, such as Bloomhanger. But especially since Icebow was nerfed, if you go at Mossman, a warrior won't keep the entire party buffed, even if he plays to perfection, because there's nothing to hit. So if he doesn't hit, he doesn't do the damage, doesn't proc the might, and the party doesn't get might. So in that particular encounter, to have maximum effectiveness, it's important to have a bit of self-buffing as well. So you help the warrior. The objective is to have party-wide buffs, to have max buff for the entire party. Not to assume that you have. You need to verify if you do. People in math, like, we'll just assume we have everything in all situations. But that's not realistic. In some situations you do, in others you don't. You can't, a warrior can't keep up all the buffs if the Mossman is stealth.
Yeah. Which
You
does a lot.
literally can. No one can keep buffs because there's nothing to hit. You can have the 100% DPS uptime on something that's not even there.
So say if there was a standard by which DPS can be determined when you can create as perfect as you can situations. For example, Brazil was doing some DPS tests with his Revenant, but it was in PvP, so he only had access to exotic weapons, which is a DPS loss, and of course only less stats due to how PvP is, with only the amulet, no ascendeds, and so on. So if there was, say, they drop a giant golem in Lion's Arch or something, and you can it has a known amount of HP because you can find out how much HP things have, and then would that be kind of an okay guideline to use if there was this global standard for everyone?
Yeah, this is what I wanted to suggest. In guild halls, I wanted to make a video especially for this. In guild halls, make some golems which emulate a few bosses. so which emulates like a boss which is really deadly to Zergers, a boss that is really deadly to condition builds, and I don't know, something like that to emulate a few separate scenarios, and at the end it gives you like this like in Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter, not Neverwinter Nights, in Neverwinter. At the end of the dungeon, at the end of the encounter, it gives you like this spreadsheet with everything you've done, all the healing and all the everything. And people can get some guidelines that way. And only then will they realize that, in fact, they were never doing what they thought they were. And I showed in my videos Bloomhanger fights, a lot of Bloomhanger fights. But Bloomhanger is one of the few bosses at which you hit that high. The highest DPS I've seen the Condition Engineer, the Sinister Engineer build do was on the Cat boss in the Sura Fractals. The entire fight took 20 seconds.
Uncle Tom?
And, yeah. The entire fight took 20 seconds, so it's not really...
It's not his name.
Not really... anyway, it's not really... Not even... It's burst. Can be called DPS. Okay, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's burst. Took 20 seconds, and he had time warp and quickness. So basically, he was full quickness almost all the time, like 70% quickness. And the Sinister Engineer did 14k DPS. Now, I recently went there as well for my guides with my Glass Cannon Necro to compare. And you guys saw I was hitting at Bloomhanger, I was hitting 16Ks with my auto attack. At Old Tom, I was hitting 12Ks. Same build. So 4K DPS loss and 4K loss per hit. Each hit. And I think it's because of the armor.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I had time warp as well most of the time. And I don't think I hit 14k DPS, only like, I'm not sure, but maybe 10, 12k DPS with full time warp.
Yeah. So
that's like 7k DPS in real. So think about it, when you go in raids, when you will go in raids and when you go into these new maps with tougher opponents, where the maximum, the highest hit you will see is like 12 or 14Ks with the hits that do almost 20Ks somewhere else. And you dodge a lot, and you stay out of combat a lot, and there's mechanics, and there's all this kind of crap that people never account for. You end up doing around 5 to 6K DPS tops. And then you see some 6K bleeds. And you think, I do so little damage with my bleeds because power bleeds do 20k DPS. No, they don't. They do probably even less. The only difference is with the condition build, you stay like way behind and you auto attack. You're like, oh, this is easy. And with the power build, you're struggling to stay alive and dodge everywhere and keep buffs. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And you have exactly the same effectiveness.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm coming into the conversation a little bit late. I kept on hearing things in the other tea times about what was going on, but was anybody arguing that that doing the math and hitting a stationary target to find out your top possible DPS for that certain situation is the be all end all? Was anybody like saying that this is what you're gonna get in dungeons?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's strange.
Spore, I have footage when he said that. He actually used this math in a void to take my spot as top necromancer, and then he told everyone how his build is far superior than everything I have, and he did that for about a year and something, and I didn't say anything because I'm like, no one's going to believe him anyway.
Okay, because I would say that it is useful to still do that. But yes, obviously, if something has more armor than the golem, you'll do less damage. And
he
obviously,
was claiming 13.4k DPS. At the time he was claiming that, I found footage of him playing in Ara, and he was doing 6k DPS with the build that was claiming to do 13.4k DPS, and I have footage of that.
Huh.
I don't know if you saw my videos. If you did, then you saw that.
I heard about that.
The issue here
Then
is
you have no idea. Then this is
I have
going to be
no idea.
mind-blowing
I
for
have
you
no
as
idea.
well.
That's why I'm asking these questions. Maybe there's some people in
Right.
chat who also haven't seen the videos and want to know about it. So
I was claiming my range glass cannon was doing around 8k DPS.
okay.
He came saying that his DPS, and I was claiming 8k DPS based on real calculations in game. He came with his melee glass cannon and said his melee glass cannon does 13.4k DPS, and it's like much better than mine because mine only does 10k in theory and blah blah blah. And at the time, the thing that got people to shift their attention away from my guides into his guides was at the time the fiery greatsword started appearing. Then it was the whirling wrath, then the lightning hammer.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, we see bosses disappear much faster, so what they're saying must be true because people don't actually check what is what. So there I was with builds that do 8k. He came up with 13k, and he's much better because bosses melt. At the time, I will say this again. At the time, he said he was doing 13.4k. He was doing 6k in reality. That's what he was doing from his own footage. Now, the problem is, not only did he trash my work and blah, blah, blah. Fine. After I left the game, the build that he spent 2 years trashing, he basically took my build and sold it to Dolphy. Fine. But after that...
Not fine, but okay.
Okay. But after that, he was saying that Necromancer is weaker than the other classes. So the guy that people were looking up to was saying that the Necromancer is weaker than the other classes based on the math. The developer said Necromancer is fine. The guy said, the spouse said that Necromancer is not fine, is weaker to the other classes. So that's how everything got started in the first place. That's how people and players got discriminated. That's where it all started. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess my only, the way I see the whole situation is, well, first of all, there's a lot of things to consider, right? So depends how tough the bosses are, depends how much health they have. So obviously if a boss is easy to kill fast, you're going to want to have burst, right? You're going to want to be able to burst it down quickly instead of having a long sustained DPS. Yeah, so possibly in those situations, power is going to be better. Possibly Necromancer who has a more sustaining DPS. But actually, Brazil, I think you've
power.
had...
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah, no
I know
problem.
what you're saying, and I already anticipated this.
Okay.
It took me a long time to figure out how I'm going to explain builds to people. But I finally realized that now we have dungeons, which are really easy. You can burst through them. Then you have fractals, which is like, and then you will have raids,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
have break bars and stuff like that. So I decided to split builds, not to classify builds not based on the role, like a predefined role like tank, healer, or blah, blah, blah. Not based on DPS, which doesn't resemble on math DPS, which doesn't resemble reality ever, but based on the difficulty of the encounter, let's say.
Yeah.
So I said I'm going to, when I make my guides, it's going to be like tier 1 builds, tier 2 builds, and tier 3 builds. Tier 1 builds are bursting builds, which are useful for encounters that end in like 30 seconds. Easy encounters that end in 30 seconds, and your damage doesn't get stopped, neither by mechanics or by you having to dodge or by whatever. So those are dungeons and have the fractals. Tier 2 builds are basically encounters that end between 20 or 40 seconds, but you have a lot of mechanics which prolong the fight and severely cripple bursting builds. Because let's say you put time warp and you try to burst Mossman down, but he goes into stealth. Your burst is out. You go Lich form, time warp, and Mossman negated your entire burst, and now you're falling behind really hard. And tier 3 builds, I'm guessing they're going to be builds for raiding, in which it can still be done as full Zerker, but it's going to be like 1 in a 10 chance, because I'm assuming the boss is going to do some AoEs that if you are not perfectly placed, it's just going to wipe all of you. So it's not worth it to gain like a 10% faster time, but you die 9 out of 10. So
It is
really
if you're
not...
going for a record, though. Say if you were going for a record, it's
Yeah,
it's
well,
worth
people...
I can talk about records.
They can do.
Oh,
Okay.
By me.
Would you like to go on that a little
Right
bit?
before Brazil goes, I just want to say Nemesis. I think that's a good way to think about it, because now things are going to be changing with raids a lot.
Yeah.
And anyway, go ahead, Brazil.
Well, so record runs, there's a lot of, I mean, most everything that happens is stuff that happens that no one ever sees. Like, you don't, like, this wasn't even a record run. This was just for a video guide back when Strife was playing, whenever people had no idea how to do a Raw Path 2 3 years ago. We were trying to record a like super clean, basically perfect Raw Path 2 run. I don't even think we were using a Thief, because Thief sucks, it doesn't know DPS. That's what we thought at the time. And it took us 2 weeks to record that, because there would be a fucking mistake or something, and you know, like we didn't fully squeeze out every tiny millisecond of DPS, or somebody got like put in combat when we were running or something. Record runs, like in a record run, everything is you try to get everything as perfect as possible. And so like bosses may die in like 20 seconds because you just completely disable it and you just explode it. You're playing with people who are really good at the game. Probably like good at the game to the point where they should be fucking playing League of Legends and making money. Or I don't know. But whenever you go into like a pug group, or whenever you're playing just like it, you don't really care about resetting for hours or days or weeks to get the perfect kill. Whenever you're just playing Guild Wars 2, boss fights don't necessarily last for 20 or 30 seconds. Like, or if you do higher level fractals, like I was doing like level 80 fractals the other day, and we got like snowblind, and the fucking shaman Lornar Dragon Seeker has like 10 million health now instead of like 1.2 million. So it's just, and they have higher armor, so they attack faster, they do more damage. They get really, that goes on to a whole other thing. But fights start to take longer now. I think ArenaNet have kind of done stuff to that, and so whenever fights take longer, people have more opportunities to make mistakes. People have more opportunities to mess up their DPS rotations. People have to dodge more.
Time.
Yeah, so
I just want to say something. People, I knew this will be the case. Sorry, I'm out of breath because I just ate so much that I feel like I'm going to explode. But put me in a good mood. So people are going like, but fights end up in 20 or 30 seconds anyway. And I saw some guy in the chat, let me find what he said because it's important. What Nemesis is saying makes his arguments in the video invalid, since every boss will die in like 30 seconds in dungeons. Well, I said dungeons, yeah. And low fractals, so it's basically the math in a void, which is kind of right. It's not right because you can never get those numbers, and the comparison between range and melee is not right, and the comparison between power and conditions are not right. But it can work with bursting build, like I said, have the fractals. People are used to bosses melting because of the ice bow. No one ever found it funny that all the records on the record website, most of the records were at Bloomhanger and Mossman. You never saw a record at Flame Shaman, you never saw a record in Escalonian, you never saw records elsewhere. You saw records at Bloomhanger. Anyone ever wonder why?
it's Swamp is the easiest thing to do.
No, because Bloomhanger has light armor.
Yeah, that's true too.
And Ice Bow hits like a truck on bosses with light armor and a large hitbox. It doesn't hit so hard when you go in Flame Shaman. Like, can you put on screen, please? The Flame Shaman fight.
Yeah, which
Now Ice Bow's nerfed.
Which
So
with is it with Ice Bow or what?
Yeah, with
Nerf,
Ice Bow.
but still strong.
I don't know which part is that in. Is it in part 1 or what?
I think it's in
I've-
part 2.
Part
I
2.
wrote it.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't with the 6. Do you want 6 times Ice Bows versus Legendary Imbued Shaman? Is that what you want?
Yep.
That's part 3. We'll get that
Particular,
set up
the
here.
point is that you could give Ice Bow to anybody and they would get that DPS. It wasn't just about
Hang on a minute.
elementalists doing that DPS. It was about others picking up the bow and
That's fair,
replicating that DPS.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see, I don't think people see. Let me see.
Yeah, there's obviously a delay on the stream. It will take a little while to appear. Can you see it on my screen? On the shared screen?
Anyway.
I agree, Hellraven. Dungeons are now useless.
Yeah,
I agree,
dungeons are
Elian.
stupid.
Do you want?
Ice Bow-
As far as taking them
No,
into the
do you want to play this? Do you want to have this playing, or do you just want the text?
No,
here?
it's fine.
Okay.
The Ice Bow does 80k DPS on targets with a large hitbox and light armor. That's 80k DPS. In 3.7 seconds, it does 300,000 damage. That's as much damage from one skill as Brazil did in his entire fight, as Narc did in his entire fight as a world record. That's how strong Ice Bow was. At Bloomhanger, when you go up against the Flame Shaman, the legendary Flame Shaman, you don't get that damage because he doesn't have a large enough hitbox. He has probably different armor, and even if you use the line stacking exploit,
Line casting.
line casting exploit, even if you use the line casting exploit, you can't actually time it right enough to do it because the boss moves around. So it's really, you lose more to set up the fight to line cast exploit than you would if you just fight. You lose a lot of time. So where if you use 5 Ice Bows on the Bloomhanger, your party DPS is around 28k a person because of Ice Bow. And at Flame Shaman, your party DPS goes down to 2,626. 6 Ice Bows, and they only managed to do, their average DPS was 2,626. That's how stupid the Ice Bow meta was. Because people thought, well, if it works here, it works everywhere. It doesn't work. So the Ice Bow was ridiculously overpowered. It gave people unrealistic DPS in a few locations, not all locations. So when you go squishy Zerger, and you go, oh, we killed Bloomhanger, this is so easy. And then you go at the Flame Shaman, and everyone goes poof.
Yeah.
People
I mean,
like,
I think
this knob, you are knob. The Necromancer is knob. No, my friend. The Ice Bow doesn't work. The Ice Bow was carrying you at Bloomhanger, and now Ice Bow doesn't work. You suck. And if you didn't have the Ice Bow, you would have sucked at Bloomhanger as well. The only difference, Ice Bow doesn't work now. So stop yelling at everyone that they have no DPS and blah blah blah, and kick Necromancer and kick Ranger and kick whatever. Doesn't work as you think you do, as you think it does.
Yeah, so I think the takeaway from all this is things work differently depending on what fight you're doing. Builds, probably, especially for raids, will have to be tailored depending on the fights you're doing. It's not going to be, this is the meta build for everything, because that's impossible. Yeah. So people still do dungeons. So the old meta of full berserker, doing everything in 10 seconds is still alive. So that's still going to happen. There will still be those builds that are the meta, berserker, crazy, burst everything down really fast. In fractals, there will be different builds? Because I think things take a little bit longer at high levels to kill now, right, Brazil?
Yes.
To put fractals very simply now, there's no reason to do them because the rewards are shit and nobody gives a fuck anymore.
But if they change the reward system, because I think there's an interview with Colin that said that they were looking into the rewards and what they're going to do about that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with fractal rewards because we've been fucked 8 times already over 2 years, so we'll see what they do about it this time.
So hold on a minute. So
The point that you're trying to say is that fractal bosses take longer now. They have
slightly longer.
Yeah, they're just not
so,
slightly longer. Some of them take a lot longer,
Okay.
just because they increase the health and armor through the roof for no reason.
So have you seen
It makes it harder,
a change?
Brazil. It makes it harder.
No,
That's how you
Makes
make
it longer, not
That's how you
harder.
make things harder, Brazil. You add more HP to them, right?
yeah.
Wow, and more toughness.
Have you seen a change to perhaps more Condi builds? Because Condi builds can sustain DPS a little bit, possibly a little bit better than pure power builds, because power builds you'll have to move around a bit more and you don't always do the same amount of DPS.
I've seen more. I've heard people talking more about condition damage builds and using them and theory crafting and shit, but not because of fractals, but because there's new condition damage stuff in the game. Because people are interested in Viper armor with Berserker runes.
Right.
I don't think anyone cares about fractals, and I don't think there's a reason to.
Okay. So the thing we should be all caring about is not fractals or dungeons anymore. It's what's coming up next, which is raids.
We'll see, because if they do the same kind of shit that they did where, yeah, you can do raids, but you're not going to get any rewards until you have, like, level 5 raid mastery finished, then I'll just quit the game and I'll go do something else. I'll just play
Right.
Fallout 4 and I'll be happy. I won't
Okay, so
worry
let's say
about
best case scenario, raids
We
are
will
fun,
go and make
enjoyable.
Minecraft.
Yeah, next time we'll
like
make
me.
Minecraft.
Minecraft Let's Plays.
But seriously though, so the only reason to do the content is for the rewards and not the challenge. Is that because the challenge doesn't exist?
Fractals, like... Fractals are harder because things have more health and do more damage and attack faster. But if you guys could see, like, Card play Mesmer, then fractals, like, the encounters don't even matter because no one ever dies anyways and you still explode shit. And pugs, I haven't really pugged anything but low-level fractals lately, and it's just
They're
easy.
laughable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
they're
like...
very laughable. So
but
how many players are going to have the same skill level as Card to make those fractals
like
ridiculous?
1%.
Okay, so for everybody else, for the rest of the 99%, are fractals challenging enough?
I don't think that matters because I think it's frustrating. I don't think it's challenging. I think it's frustrating. They go in and they go do like a snowblind fractal at level like 50 or 60 or something, and they're like, okay, this is irritating, but at least there's going to be some reward at the end, and they don't get anything out of it, and they just never do it again. I think that's what fractals are like right now. I don't think they're challenging. I think they're frustrating. Like instabilities where mobs explode when you kill them, and where mobs just randomly apply conditions to you, like fear and immobilize. Those aren't instabilities that are designed to make fractals more challenging. Those
Or
are
fun.
individuals, or those are instabilities designed by individuals at ArenaNet who personally have problems with stuff like corner stacking, who are literally just taking their anger out on everyone that plays the game, which is fucking retarded, and that's
I don't know
bullshit.
about that. Brazil, I think that's not bullshit. I think that's a designer's... That's the way a designer has to sometimes react to...
But it's really annoying, though.
A
strategy
designer that
that's
doesn't
overused.
understand the concept of challenge. A designer that understands the
Oh.
concept of I want people to play my game the way I want them to play it.
Well, for sure, fractals need something of a redesign because, as you said, level 100 fractals is not harder than level 50 fractals before the change. Right?
They take longer. And like,
They take longer, but they're not
I don't know if you guys have seen this either, but like level 98 is Jade Maw, and people solo that and sell it for 10 gold, and they make like 80 gold an hour doing that. They just solo Jade Maw level 98 all day long.
Which is ridiculous because
And
it's
it's
such
like-
an easy fight.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the point is though, fractals as a whole perhaps need some kind of a redesign. But I don't think I'd fault the designers for putting things, even though maybe more things have to change in the fractal design to make it more interesting, more challenging. I don't fault them for putting something in the fractal design that'll counteract some strategies that are overused to do things like stacking or like being full melee.
There are already mobs that do stuff like that. Like, this was something that I actually yelled at people over this the other day because we were doing the Aether Blade Retreat fractal, and we got to Champion Frizz or whatever the hell his name is, and everyone said, okay, we're going to go stack on this box. We're going to get on the box and stand behind it and LOS everything over. And I'm like, I wasn't saying anything. I was just like, whatever. And so there are mobs, there are Inquest Grenadiers that don't LOS. They don't. If you go behind a box to get them to LOS, they'll stay at range and they'll run around and they'll flank you and they'll throw shit at you. They're not going to LOS unless you like pull them into the box, which at that point, like you should just be in the middle of the room just fighting the enemies. That's what makes the most sense. But like, why can't other enemies do that? Like, if you're trying to fucking stack on Mossman or something, why can't he just, like, move out of the way? Like, that makes a fight different. That doesn't make you have to put in random bullshit instabilities that serve no purpose.
So
I mean, I think that's the point of instabilities, isn't it? Isn't instabilities by definition like the random bullshit that you're supposed to have to deal with in fractals?
You can put the instability which explodes monsters to damage the monsters as well. So basically you kill one mob and it explodes in the other ones. That would be fun.
That would be cool.
That would make yeah, because then you play more tanky builds, and everyone focus fire one single mob and everything explodes. That could work.
So I'm trying to understand in the current content that we have, and raids aren't available just yet. Let's pray soon. Why do we even give a shit about builds? Who cares? None of the content's worth doing, right?
Wow.
Right?
Well, let me get back on track because it's a whole it's a long story. So, in the beginning, since I'm on YouTube, I tend to pay attention to numbers because it's important. If you want to have a career on YouTube, sooner or later you're going to look at the numbers and the commercial value of things. So, Guild Wars 2 sold 5.5 million copies. Recently, they said they've reached 7 million copies. People were like, 7 million people bought Heart of Thorns. No. In total, the game sold 7 million copies.
Right.
If 7 million people would have bought Heart of Thorns, the game would be everywhere. Like GameSpot would be like, oh, the new WoW killer. They sold 7 million copies. They would be chopping the heads off Champagne and everyone like,
No, it was more like three. It was 3 million after a year. It was
The-
3 million after a year, right? And probably after 2.5 years, it was up to maybe 5 million from everybody who bought stuff. So I'd say probably the free-to-play players were possibly up to 2 million to make it up to 7 million. So maybe the 7 million includes 2 million free-to-players and 5 million of everybody who bought the core game and are upgrading to HOT.
I will say
Anyway.
that
it's
not doing well on Twitch, perhaps. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's not doing well on Twitch. It's not doing well on YouTube.
They
It's
sold a
not
lot of
doing
copies.
well by Metacritics. It's not being picked up by anyone.
But Metacritics is total bullshit.
But
Because,
yeah, and Guild
I mean,
Wars 2
let's
is...
be honest, it is. It's
Y-
total
yeah,
bullshit.
it is. The reviews are ridiculous, and Guild Wars 2 is still a big deal, and it doesn't overlap that much with WoW. I think it is a different audience with WoW mostly.
I will say that I do understand what Nemesis is saying. I do understand his point. If you are a Twitch streamer, if you are a YouTube personality or any kind of content creator, Guild Wars 2 is not the way to make a career, because you should be playing Minecraft, plain and simple.
Yeah, no, the thing is, in the beginning, there were a lot of people who were expecting this to be the WoW killer and the MMO to go to. That was never the case. Instead of going, it had a few shortcomings. What the fuck is happening? It had a few shortcomings.
Oh my gosh.
It had a few shortcomings, and people eventually left. The people that stayed are the people who enjoy exploiting with Icebow to do 13,000 dungeons per day to make gold, to blah 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 blah. Those people, as soon as you take their little Icebow away, are going to go, oh, this is so hard, nerf, please nerf. They want to nerf the content until they are able to do it with bad builds, which were never supposed to work in the first place and only work because of the Icebow, which is now gone. And everyone wants to get content because the content is too hard. I've seen people go with 9k HP in Verdant Brinks before it was nerfed. And he went at the first 2 mobs, and the first 2 mobs were like, be gone.
Squashed.
And then they were like, oh, what is this? It's too hard, and blah, blah, blah. And I was just passing through. I'm like, I saw when in Dragonstrand in the beginning, there is this big boss with the big axe and says heavy armor on it. I saw that guy wipe my entire Zerg. He spinned around and killed everybody.
Nice.
It was beautiful. So you can imagine the entire Zerg was probably squishy Zergers, which do nothing to heavy armor in the first place. And 2 seconds after I saw a million corpses, I should have recorded that. I so should have recorded, but I wasn't expecting everyone to die like poof. And 2 seconds later, like, oh, they fucked up the content. This is bullshit. What the fuck is this? And this is Diablo 3 all over again. No. In Diablo 3, you were getting one-shotted no matter what you had on you from outside your screen. So you're sitting here, and something that you didn't even see was in another map was one-shotting you, even if you had like 95% armor. 95% damage reduction. That's bullshit. This, if you use a proper build, it's not bullshit. He caught me with the axe as well, and I was like, walking out.
Yeah.
And at the end, probably would have like people said, you do no damage. Yeah.
Inks,
I'm the only one that does damage. I should have soloed that, and anyway. So
Yes.
the problem here is the community that stayed are casuals. Most of them are casuals because they were spoiled with the Icebow. And once you get used to one-shotting bosses with the Icebow, it's kind of hard to fight something that actually does something. And now, people don't actually want to actually fight. They're like, where's our Icebow? And please nerf the content and blah, blah, blah. If ArenaNet is going to continue nerfing the content, like they did with Verdant Brinks, in Verdant Brinks, I soloed most of the hero points before they were nerfed. It wasn't that difficult. And then they nerfed the entire Verdant Brinks. If raids are going to come out and people are going to use crap builds and then go like, oh, what is this bullshit? I'm supposed to do 20k DPS. Why is this boss killing me? If people are going to go like that, and since an unknown percentage of the people are casuals, they will say, please nerf, please nerf. ArenaNet is going to nerf the content to
cater.
That word. The people. And then when they can finally do the content with crap builds while playing with their feet, they're going to finish the content and go like, oh, there's no content, there's no challenge, blah, blah, blah. And they're still going to leave. So it's a really, really bad situation the game has gotten itself into. And the problem is, since there isn't a damage meter, and the elitism kind of, it's a really aggressive community. It's almost as aggressive. It's almost as aggressive as League of Legends. Yeah, I said it right. It's almost as aggressive as League of Legends.
Wow.
It really is. People, if you go into a discussion with someone that is like, oh, let's do this, stay here, stand there, I explain, I do this, do what I say, nothing else. If you get into a discussion with any of those people, they really go like, you do this, you do this much DPS if you stay there, and blah, blah, and no one actually knows what the actual DPS is. Not only are people casual and they die as soon as you take their ice bow away, but they also are under the impression that they're strong. So that's really, really bad. It's really bad to have a community who think they're really, really good, but at the same time they're casual. Because there's no type of content you can give that community. If you give them proper content, they're going to cry it's too hard. If you give them easy content, they're going to cry there's no content.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that I personally am a casual, and I'm a proud casual. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you that because of the fact that a lot of the content is pretty easy in the game already. What's going on? What's that noise?
There's coming
fireworks.
To the
No, I literally cannot doing anything about this. It's right outside my window. It's unbelievable.
Why are there fireworks?
I don't know.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Yeah.
Literal shots fired.
I don't know if you guys talked about that in that brief absence, but I actually, maybe I'm being too optimistic here, but I don't think they're going to nerf raids.
No, I
don't think they're going to.
I really don't know. I don't know one way or the other.
I don't know either.
Because I have seen pretty much everything in this entire game get nerfed. Like, I'm surprised Tangled Depths hasn't gotten nerfed yet. Because
Incoming.
It did.
Tangled Depths?
Yeah. The track doesn't they don't hit as hard as they did the first few days.
I'm talking about like the meta event, like killing the Chalk Gerent. Like, I'm really surprised that hasn't been nerfed yet, because there are only like 3 guilds that have actually done that yet. And this was like something else earlier, like talking about fractals and shit. Like the Chalk Gerent, holy shit, that fight has mechanics like you wouldn't even believe, and it's amazing. Like,
I'd love to see it.
He spawns this like big ass AoE that will just it kills you after like half a second, so you have time to react. It's very obvious. You can tell where it is. The size of it is variable, so that's really cool. He has like a break bar where he like drops the ceiling down onto you, and you have to fucking break it. And if you don't, he's gonna like AoE and kill everybody in the lane. Like, he digs under the ground. You have to get him to come out by doing like lane-specific mechanics to it. It's amazing. And you compare that to like Lornar, Dragon, Seeker, and Fractals, where he just stands there with a great sword and goes... and that's all he does! That's all he does! And occasionally he goes... and breathes ice on you. That's all he does! That's all that happens in that whole fight. It's like... what the fuck is this game? Holy shit!
But I think the Shaq Gerent. I don't think it needs to be nerfed, because it's going to be like Tequatl. I mean, now, on the kind of the first few days when Tequatl was out, it's just impossible. It can't be done. And now it's just Pugs will do it just all the time, easy, and get it done.
Tequatl was
really
nerfed.
quick. Yeah, but not a huge amount.
It was nerfed. It was nerfed a little bit, and also, and then they also made it so that condition damage hits him, and so on and so forth. You could stack condition damage. I'm not going to say that's why Tequatl's so easy to beat now, but it's one of the reasons.
Yeah, you can crit him, and you can actually put more than 25 fucking bleeds on him.
Yeah.
I don't understand why all these things need to be nerfed. I don't understand it.
They don't.
Because because
it needs to be accessible, Inks.
There's plenty of accessible content.
Game.
Everyone needs to do everything, though. Inks.
Out of 5 million people, the under 1 million people that remain in game got used to. They enjoy using ice bow to kill bosses over and over and over and over and over again for gold. So those are the people that ArenaNet has as their buyers, as their sustainers right now.
I think, you know what, Teapot, you just said something important. You said everything has to be accessible, and I know that was
No,
very...
no. I was being facetious.
I know you were being facetious, but
Okay.
I think you have a little bit of a point there. For example, for dungeons, I think the reason why I know they said that to bring rewards in line, but I think maybe the reason why they nerfed the dungeon rewards
I don't want you doing them.
was to make it more accessible, because currently dungeons are being run by a bunch of people who want to make gold really fast.
No,
And
wrong. Currently, dungeons are being run by absolutely no one.
that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
before
Before the nerf.
that.
Sorry. Before the nerf, it was being run by people who want to make gold fast and would kick people who aren't doing well enough and would be, you have to be berserker meta, etc., etc. And I think maybe they nerfed it so that those people would not be as enticed to be doing this anymore and would let it be more accessible for everybody else.
I don't know that I buy that. I think that they nerfed it because they don't want you doing dungeons anymore. They want you doing fractals and raids.
Yeah,
And
they finally had an
they don't want you
excuse
farming
to get rid
it.
of dungeons.
Right. They don't want you farming the dungeons as a moneymaker anymore because that invalidates the work they've done on fractals and raids.
Right.
Wow.
So I mean, as sort of a butterfly effect, I guess, that has made dungeons more accessible because there are less people there yelling at you now that you're not running Zerker, whatever, I guess. But there's also less people doing dungeons now as well.
That's true.
So finding a group, unless you have an established group, now takes you longer, or slightly longer. It's kind of debatable, I guess. I didn't have any problems finding a pug group the other day, but, mileage may vary.
Realize there's 759 people live. So, can you please
thank you for that.
Can you please put? You're welcome. Can you please put on screen Brazil's fight?
Against what? Bloomhunger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that without ISPO or with ISPO?
Without ISPO.
Okay, that's in part 2, I think.
Why are we talking about ISPO still?
Because.
Okay, is this it? Does this look like it? I think this is
Okay,
it.
you're
Right?
gonna tell us. All right.
That's probably it.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Should we play
let's-
it?
Go for it.
This is supposed to be
So
Brazil.
it
without
doesn't
ISPO.
matter, but
It
also
doesn't matter
he
what-
does consider. People think they could do. It doesn't matter that in optimal situations you could be doing this or whatever. If all of you right now watching are not playing as well as this, then you won't be doing 9,561 DPS. If you don't hit 100 blades of, how much did you hit?
It was probably like 30k, maybe.
Well, there was a 41,000 one there.
41,000, and you had another one of 52k. If you're not hitting 52k with 100 blades and 41,000 with 100 blades, and if you're not attacking non-stop, because he was attacking non-stop, you will not be doing 9k DPS. So it doesn't matter if I could have found better footage than what he gave me, because you still have a certain benchmark to validate yourself against. If you do 60k 100 blades, and I don't think you can have more DPS uptime than what Brazil had, because he was hitting all the time. There was not a single second in which you saw him like going like this. He was attacking non-stop. So that DPS is 9k. Can you put the one with the ice bomb?
Okay. That's in part 1, so...
I think so.
Yep, it is. Okay, there we go. This is against Bloomhunger. Again?
Yep.
Wait,
So in this fight, Brazil's DPS goes all the way to 11k. It's the same guy. You fought with the same people?
I think so. I don't really remember.
Same guy, same people, same build, and his DPS goes to 11k. The entire fight lasts 27 seconds. Why? Because the ice bow made the fight so short that he spent a higher percentage of the fight under time warp. Basically, time warp boosted him longer than it should have, because not the time warp was longer, the fight was shorter.
But he was under time.
We are in an agreement now.
Yeah.
Can you put the world record with the ice bows?
Let's see. Yes, I can. That's back to part 2. And 199.
A lot of people said that Brazil was casual and he didn't do the best that he could have done.
I got told I was casual by someone who can't fucking hit arcing arrow on the goddamn berserker abomination.
You are,
I won't mention any names or anything.
There we go.
You should. That's what this is all for.
This was the advertised world record on the world record website. The guy's DPS was 6,422 before he picked up the ice bow. And this is not the fastest Bloomhanger kill. There's a faster Bloomhanger kill of 17.3 seconds with 5 ice bows. So basically, it was never the characters doing the damage. It was the ice bow. This is DNT Narc. And his DPS in the fight was around Brazil's. So basically, Brazil was never casual, and this is as much as you will do with the warrior on light armor. On light armor, on a boss with light armor that doesn't have protection and stupid mechanics that stops you from damaging all the time. Why I'm saying all of this, why I go back to the ice bow, even World of Ender said, why we keep talking about the ice bow. People need to understand that 20k DPS and all that bullshit never existed. Never, ever. And the most you can get is 14, 13k. Warrior goes around 10k if you're lucky. On light armor. Can you put the fight with Ascalonian, please?
Which one is it? Brazil DPS or Nemesis DPS?
Brazil DPS on.
Okay.
Brazil DPS on Ascalonian. In the Ascalonian fight, where the boss has protection and heavier armor, Brazil's DPS went from 9k to 5k.
It's because he sucks.
So people need to understand that all the damage that was ever advertised to you was not real. No one does 16, 20k DPS. No one. It's not real. And I've asked so much all the elitists who taught you this and trashed my work and blah, blah, blah. I asked them and I almost harassed them. Give me footage. Show us footage. Give me proof. I asked them so much to show us the 20k DPS that actually got banned twice. So people need to understand that 20k DPS is not real. And the only reason dungeons worked as fast as they did was because of the ice bow, which is now gone. The reason why the necromancer never got buffed was because he was good, but he couldn't summon an ice bow and couldn't buff the ice bow. That's why it was kicked out of teams, not because he has low DPS.
It's because he wasn't made for for what was in the game at the time. He wasn't made for
ice bow. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't made for ice bow. He wasn't made for 10-second long fights.
No, he wasn't made for ice bow. He is made for 10-second long fights. Leech form and the time warp is the highest DPS you can possibly get.
Okay. Is that true?
Really, leech form under time warp. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah.
Okay.
Leech form hits around as hard as Gravedigger. And it's at range, so you don't have to dodge. So basically you pew pew.
Yeah.
Hit after hit after hit.
But then you have a cooldown, I guess.
And
so
then
the next boss.
Yeah, but it's a 10-second fight. If you're talking burst, then that's the burst.
You potentially have less boons and buffs as well if you're at range.
No, because...
But if it's a 10-second long fight, you're not
Yeah, but I mean, we were saying in raids or something, because the fights in raids are going to go on for much longer. And by the way, Brazil, I think you may be muted.
So
yeah, I was. Whoops.
What I want to say is that people should really, if they ever want to play anything effectively, anything other than fighting a golem, should really stop looking at the math. Necromancer was never bad. He just couldn't summon an ice bow. That was the only fault of the Necromancer.
I think
Buffing, the whole buffing thing, Necromancer can provide some buffs as well. Not as good as the other team, not as good as other characters, but you have to take into consideration that sometimes a warrior who buffs can't keep the buffing, all the might stacks on the entire party because there's nothing to hit. Because Mossman goes into stealth, because the Flame Shaman puts an invulnerability on him, and all these kind of mechanics that you have to take into consideration. These mechanics are in the game to balance the game. Math in a void doesn't take into consideration these facts. And you can go, okay, we do this much DPS. But what about the mechanics which balance the game? Fuck the mechanics. You can go fuck the mechanics because in reality, mechanics are still there and they will balance the game.
I had no idea I think people actually thought that the math you do is exactly what you're going to do in real life. That is a stance that I can't get behind. But I can also say that I do think the math does make a difference. You should if you could do the math, you might as well to see what is the potential in case that happens. But at the same time, you have to look at every fight and see what is possible before. Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole point.
So that's the whole point. And I think what really is important is now not so much dungeons, not so much fractals until they change it maybe because Brazil doesn't want to do them anymore.
Had mediocre.
But
Messi doesn't understand
raids.
It was never about the ice bow, it was about the fact that Necromancer didn't bring any effective group utility and had mediocre DPS. No, my friend. I have higher DPS than the others who bring support. The support is for the Necromancer. Now that the ice bow is gone, the support is not for the ice bow, the support is for the Necromancer. So it's really stupid and moronic to bring a lot of support and then kick your DPSer. The Necromancer is the DPSer. Why do you bring support and kick your DPSer? And even before, in the time of Ice Bow, like I've showed you guys on screen and you can see in my videos, Ice Bow didn't work everywhere. So you did a really fast Bloom Hunger kill, and by the time you end up at Flame Shaman or Ascalonian or whatever, you'll be like, everyone sucks, I'm full of knobs and everyone doesn't do DPS. No, you do as much DPS as you should have done. It's just that Ice Bow doesn't work on targets with small hitbox.
I think this is what is really exciting about raids, though, because now we have 10 slots, and Necromancer does have a unique modifier that gives you more damage, which is its lifesteal mechanics.
Exactly, but does it also? But it's only for 5 targets, though, isn't it?
Are they going to extend that to 10?
I doubt it.
No? Oh, that's quite unfortunate.
The application of that and like the application of spotter and empower allies and those type of buffs, the application is faster than the expiration, so it can potentially be more than 5 targets.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's interesting. But now that we have more space within our group, now maybe you can allow for that extra unique modifier that only the Necromancer can bring to the table.
Mm-hmm. However, Brazil just confirmed that since the application is longer than the expiration, there's no need for 2 Necromancers in a group.
The differences in reality in DPS are so small and so situational that kicking anyone who brings a proper build and doesn't like have rabbit gear and auto attacks with a dagger, which doesn't even apply conditions, will put you at a disadvantage if you kick anyone who brings a proper build, no matter the class.
But duplication is still a thing.
Sorry?
Duplication is still a thing. Like, you don't want to run 2 people doing phalanx strength or 3 people doing phalanx strength. So you would, if somebody doesn't want to change their build, you could still say, look, guy, we have enough of those.
Yeah, of course. I'm just talking about people should stop kicking other players based on class. ArenaNet developers said the classes are more or less balanced. I said the classes are more or less balanced, and I proved that everyone who disagrees and everyone who says, this class sucks and that class sucks and that build sucks is wrong. I proved everyone wrong, and all the people who trash talked me and kept saying I'm wrong don't want to face me anymore. And they don't even appear in the comment section of my videos anymore. Until now, every single time I put a video, they were like, Nemesis sucks. Now no one shows their face. So at least I got that issue solved. Can you put on screen, please, the fight I had at Bloomhanger?
With you, Nemesis DPS?
Yeah, with Icebow.
If I don't see 20k, I'm in a riot right now.
With Icebow, did you say? With Icebow?
Yeah, with Icebow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to part 1 we go. What's this?
And after that, I'm going to explain why there's no DPS in damage metering game.
Okay. I mean, there was a comment that I saw that is... I think it was kind of a bit of a troll comment, but I think there is some non-troll that can be mined from its fetid depths. I'm going to wait until you're ready to discuss what's happening on the video. But you say that you do more DPS than these the current builds over a sustained amount. Are you going to attempt to get records with your builds without Icebow?
As soon as the records that were done with Icebow disappear, yes, I will get records.
Okay.
Because I can never compete with something that did 80k DPS.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, shouldn't all of those records, now the Heart of Thorns is out, be totally invalid anyway?
Yeah.
Those builds are no longer viable or
They were
repeatable.
invalid at the time the Icebow was not. Every single one of those records were done with Icebow, and Icebow got nerfed in half. And the Icebow was doing all the damage, as I will show after this fight. Can you put play, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
There we go.
So at one point you will see I go into Leech form under Time Warp. And I'm hitting, let me see, 15.
About 15.7k.
15, 14, 15. So let me put this into perspective for you guys. 100 blades is how much channeling? 2 point something plus something aftercast, which is around 3 seconds.
I think so. I really
100 blades takes 3 seconds to hit. And that's 50k DPS. Okay. The Leech form hits with Time Warp. I have no idea actually how with the aftercast. Anyway, around 1.4 seconds. But don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly sure. I never checked with Time Warp. So that means I do about 30k damage every 3 seconds. So a warrior does 50k DPS in 3 seconds once. When I go into Leech form, I do 30k every 3 seconds. So put that into perspective. How much does the warrior have to hit with 100 blades to match what the Leech form can do? That's for the guy and everyone who says that Necromancer had mediocre damage.
Necromancer right now is in a good spot, I think.
But that's the thing. The Leech form never got changed. Yeah,
but Lich form still is a large cooldown.
Yeah, I don't think
and
it's...
it lasts only 20 seconds. So,
slow.
like, if you're having a fight that's a minute long, which is shorter than the cooldown of Lich form and much longer than the duration, it's not going to be that useful. Although it does do a lot of damage, it's not going to be the be-all, end-all.
That's the point. That's why there's no damage meter in the game. Because sometimes if people take shorter than 3 minutes between each bosses, some classes appear that they do a lot less DPS than they actually do. If I go in a fight and the boss spawns a lot of adds and I hit a big epidemic and spreads like 25 burns and 25 poisons and 25 stacks of bleeding, I'm going to register 150, 120k DPS, which will eventually drop as the fight progresses because you cannot maintain that. but I will appear like the top DPSer by far over everyone just because of that epidemic. Epidemic is the highest hitting skill in the game in the right circumstances. So if you put the damage meter in the game, damages are going to be so all over the place that no one is going to understand them anyway. And the same people are going to argue over, let's say someone trashes someone else. Let's say person 1 trashes person 2 for a reason. Person 2 can press exactly the same combination of buttons and will do different DPSs based on the encounter and on small things like a mob didn't come around the corner, or a mob fell, or a mob died sooner than getting in the range of a channeling skill and stuff like that. The damage numbers will be all over the place and people will not understand them. That's why there's no damage meter in the game. Ironically, this only made people go even more elitist. But the problem is, like I said, they're casual elitists, which is so mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's a little interesting. The DPS meter not being in the game, because obviously it's an add-on that you can't do because it's against the rules, means that people can't get a real view in each encounter of what they could be doing or are supposed to be doing.
Right.
And at the same time, do you really want that? Because
yes, I do.
Yeah,
Spreadsheets would have a lot more meaning for me if I had a DPS meter to see how far off mark I actually was.
And
if
also,
those theoretical numbers are founded.
It makes it unambiguous, yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, you can do what Nemesis has done and go through the combat logs and add everything up, but not everyone's going to do that, obviously. So if you add the DPS... If you have the DPS meter, it's just completely unambiguous. You know, you either do the DPS or you don't do the DPS.
Yeah, it's unambiguous, but at the same time, there's a huge difference between Guild Wars 2 and WoW, for example, because WoW, you have your DPS dealers, and you have... What's going on? and you have your tank, and you have your healer. And in Guild Wars 2, you don't really have that right now. Maybe you will have something more like that in raids, but right now you don't have that. Yeah, you probably will have something more like that in raids, but you don't have that right now, and so your DPS is going to suffer considerably when you just happen to be the DPSer who's getting attacked, or you just happen to be the guy who, so if you have a DPS meter in the game right now before raids, it's not going to be very good because people will be judging you based on your DPS, and it's not...
They do anyway.
Not really. Not they can't as much because you can't really say.
Right. It's more difficult, but
it's much more difficult. And
if you're lacking DPS. Go ahead.
I have no issue with it.
Let's just keep it respectful, okay? Come on, guys.
It's your stream. I actually don't mind at all because it's irrelevant whether they hate or not. They can hate me all they want. They're still not going to do 20k DPS. And when raids come out, they're still going to bitch about how hard raids are. And what Nike, if you guys saw the conversation I had with Nike 5 months ago, and I told him, it's not about what I want and what you want. I don't even like to play tank builds. Even if they make tank builds more of a requirement, I'm not going to play a tank build because I don't like tank builds. But it should have enough diversity. It should accommodate enough people to... It should have enough viable play styles to accommodate a lot of people, because that's how you gain a larger audience. And without a larger audience, the game doesn't have funding. And without funding, there's no commercial, no advertising. And speaking of that, Guild Wars 2, oh my god. It's like
Guild Wars 2
the only reason I came back to the game, I mean, I thought the game would go a little bit more popular, but I didn't expect the Heart of Thorns to get to be a really game changer and improve the build system and the combat system and everything even more. That surprised me a lot. The game, the build system got improved even more. It's the things I've seen you can do inside the game now and how they split everything up. It's really beautiful. And people, you guys know the dragon thingy where you fight that
dragon?
guy who is naked. Who's that guy?
The part where you kill
Farron?
Tahern with Kaladin?
Varen. Yeah.
Farron.
Oh, look,
Farron.
it's Varen.
Ah,
that's-
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
look,
can you
it's
go to-
Farron.
Varen.
All
okay.
right.
Right.
Jasmina.
Swordmaster Farron, you mean?
When the dragon tries to fly off, if you freeze him and you see him hard enough when he tries to lift off, you can actually prevent him from lifting off.
Right.
That's some single player RPG type shit right there. That's amazing. That's amazing that they managed to implement something like that within a game and connect the build system with the combat system in such a way that you have multiple ways of playing and interact beautiful with the combat system and everything. And people are standing there with the ice bows and going like, what is this boss? Why is he putting fire on me? Like, ugh. And then they come on Teapot streams and go like, hey, Nemesis, yeah. That's not going to do anything. Doesn't.
Yeah.
The
Well,
game back
is
to
a-
the funding. So, like I said, the developers, I always had a lot of respect for the developers. And you guys heard me, like people who follow me for 3 years know that I always said the build system is one of the best build system in the world. I didn't stay in the game for the cutscenes and the story, and to me those are more or less inexistent because I was spoiled with proper lore and Neverwinter Nights and Witcher and Gothic and all that stuff. And when I came here with, and I went into COF, and people were like, what you call that NPC? Oh, look, they are giving prisoners to devourers. I'm like, kill me now.
Yeah.
So I stayed for the build system. So you have the developers who are doing a really good job, and then you have the other people, the marketing department. I was really busy making with real life stuff and making those videos, and I didn't bother to check how Heart of Thorns came out, but it came out a lot better than I thought. But the perspective on the game is like almost non-existent. I have seen more advertising done for Fail Army than I've seen of Guild Wars 2. You guys know Fail Army, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of mind-blowing cinematics and what Blizzard does, everything Blizzard does, it's all propaganda and marketing and advertising and crap like that. Instead of that, we have that MILF thingy on the Twitch official forums.
Oh, baking
Twitch
with
official
Guild
forums,
Wars 2.
Twitch live stream that did a cooking show.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Yes.
That I thought would be like a really parody sort of thing, but it was really awkward. And here's what got to me. I got an email from someone who said he got perma-banned for calling her a MILF. So their marketing department decides to put some woman
Wow.
to cook. That was one day before the game launched. So no huge trailers, no advertising, no commercial money to put everywhere to have Guild Wars 2 explosion and stuff. You put a woman to cook on Twitch. And people like, MILF. And then you ban those people. This is the internet. You have people who handle Guild Wars 2 marketing and commercial value, the commercial aspect of Guild Wars 2, who put a female cooking on the Twitch channel, on the Twitch official channel. What do you think is going to happen? Of course, people are going to go, MILF. It's the internet. And then you ban those people. That's fucking insane. What are you doing? It's like that company is like ArenaNet is split in half. People who know what the fuck they're doing and people who have absolutely no idea what the fuck they're doing. That's why the game will never get the respect it deserves. I have not seen one ad saying build system broke away from the Holy Trinity, build system, blah, 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 to advertise the best things about the game. No. You have one MILF making char cookies.
Yeah. Remember the live action trailer? You guys remember that?
That's
Live
am
action
I
trailer.
the only one who noticed this shit? Even when Diablo 3 came out and it was how Deckard Cain, which was an iconic character, how Deckard Cain died from some butterflies, I was like, ugh. And when the game launched and the game launched, and for half the world, it didn't even work on the first day. What did they do? They published everywhere their huge success, and they filmed how they opened 3,000 champagne bottles. They're like, oh, we're so strong, which they knew they weren't, but they did that as a marketing tactic. And then you have Guild Wars 2 putting MILF on Twitch. And then you ban people for calling her a MILF. What the fuck is going on with you guys? Mm-hmm. At least have them, if you're going to do this and troll and get people trolling back and stuff, at least let them troll so you get some commercial value out of it. Why do you stop them? You started this and then you stop them. And a lot of people got banned that day.
The chat was pretty bad.
Twitch chat's always pretty terrible. I mean, look at this. Yeah. Just look at these guys.
I think it's like it's kind of like 4chan. The best things about Twitch chat are also the worst things about Twitch chat. You know, I mean, some people, the only reason they go in Twitch chat is to see the dank memes and the abuse getting hurled all over the place. But some people actually like it as a constructive environment where they can discuss what's happening on the stream. And I guess Guild Wars 2 kind of want to veer towards in that direction. They want a respectful atmosphere and so on.
The problem with fucking Guild Wars 2 is that they don't realize that it's the fucking internet. They want it to be the friendliest community ever. They want it to be people who literally just like sit around and talk about their PvT gear and how tanky they are and just res each other all day and like give each other smiley faces and chat. That's why Guild Wars 2, like every time Colin Johansson gets up and talks about the friendliest community in MMOs, it's like, first of all, where are you getting that? Because you've probably never been kicked out of a dungeon for being a necromancer and then had your own YouTube builds linked to you to tell you how to play.
That's amazing.
That's quite...
That's terrible.
That's some serious... Terrible. That's some big fail fish right there.
You know, I think where a lot of this friendliest community thing comes from is the fact that the game is sort of designed in a way that you don't mind seeing another player come up and mine a node. You don't mind seeing another player come up and help you defeat a boss. You don't mind getting rezzed by another player, although if you're totally dead, you should waypoint. People still haven't learned that after 3 years. And I think that's where they get this friendliest player atmosphere. It's very conducive in the game to help one another. And you don't mind seeing another player come along because he's not going to steal your kill. He's not going to steal your experience. He's not going to steal your loot. And he's not going to steal your mining nodes or your resource nodes, et cetera, et cetera. Because they designed the same that way, I think that's where this friendliest community comes from. However, if you go to the Reddit, if you go to the forums, if you watch Twitch chat, et cetera, depending on the YouTube people you watch as well, that vocal... I don't even know if it's a minority or a majority, but those vocal people tend to be rather opinionated and unfriendly.
I would say it's a minority.
As well as the LFG. If you're going to do an LFG dungeon, depending on, or fractals, or LFG anything really, you're going to meet quite a bit of resistance depending on what you're playing, how you're playing, and who you're playing.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's a minority. Maybe that's just me who thinks that, but I definitely think it's a minority. On Reddit and in the forums, it could get really friendly and it could get really unfriendly. It's a little bipolar, both of those things.
Very bipolar.
It all depends on the current state of the game and the current news that you've been getting. Like over the last 2 years, there's been really highs and really lows. And after a few patches, it's been really good, and after a few patches, it's been really bad. So
that absolutely hits the nail on the head for me. I think the mood of places like the forums and the subreddit is incredibly dependent on how the people who are on these forums feel about the game right now. If there's a patch everyone's happy about, then they're going to be nice to you, they're going to be friendly. But if something not so great, in their opinion, has happened, they're going to be really angry, and they're going to tell you that the game sucks, that you suck, and you should just leave.
Yeah, and the problem with all of this is that ArenaNet refuses to accept that they're on the internet, and they can literally just play this like a fucking musical instrument and make money off of it. Like, all they have to do is, like, give people more shit to be mad about, or give people more shit to be happy about, like, all the time. And instead of giving us, like masteries to grind that take 50 million XP, so you have to farm spiders for 18 hours straight to even be able to do anything in the fucking expansion that we waited on for 3 years. But
the thing
I
is,
don't know.
it is possible to
the
get.
thing-
Go ahead, Nemesis. Go ahead.
I actually believe, looking at all the statistics and numbers, I'm after 3 years of YouTube, at least I learned to get a sort of a feel of things. I don't think ArenaNet has enough funds to do everything that they want to do. I don't think the forum moderators have anything against me personally, even though they banned me twice for reasons which no one ever got banned before. I think they are undermanned, and I think they ban people based on the amount of reports because no one has time to read anything. I got banned before for a few hours until I wrote them. Someone was insulting the moderators, the developers, said the developers are dumb or something like that. And I said, ha ha ha, both the message and the developers are so dumb for saying the necromancer is fine, right? Just wait for part 2. That's what I said. And I got banned for insulting the developers. And I said both the Nemesis and the developers. And the moderator who read that didn't realize that I'm speaking about myself. He thought I'm insulting Nemesis. And I said, I didn't insult Nemesis or the developers because I am Nemesis.
Oh my goodness.
And they apologized and then removed my ban. So I don't think they have anything against me personally, but like I said, the community, an unknown percentage of the community that remained got used to farming with icebow or dungeons, doing dungeons over and over. There are people who like that kind of grind. And now when things are going to change, they're going to get a bit frustrated. What?
I'm pointing at a person who likes that kind of grind.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I get frustrated. And if you're trying to change that, and if you're going like, let's make this a proper game. I didn't invest 3 years of my life into making a YouTube channel just to get fucked like the way I got fucked. People are going, oh, you want to take our gold away. My friends, if you can farm 100 times COF, if you can do COF 100 times per day, everyone can do COF 100 times per day. And your goal doesn't mean much if everyone has just as much gold as you. So you're not actually making anything. Do you guys realize that in the beginning, precursors were 14 gold, and now precursor is 900 gold? Because everyone kept farming and the prices kept rising. So you achieve nothing. All you do is do the same thing 100 times a day, which if it's fun for you, okay, but it's not going to get the game anywhere in the long run. And eventually you're going to go, this is boring. You're going to drop the game anyway. So why even try? Why even try to defend and hold on to things which I have proven to be wrong? Even Sporge admitted, I have footage of Sporge admitting that the math is fake. Nike said no one believed the math is real in the first place. I have footage of that. Bob said only idiots believe they were actually doing 20k DPS. And if you guys remember Bob, that's the, I almost said slut, who said no one takes the message seriously anymore anyway, blah, blah, blah. And after I published the video, he's like, only idiots believe they were actually doing 20k DPS. So all the elitists, people are now defending and going like this in the chat, this Nemesis. Your elitist friends actually call you idiots for believing them in the first place. You guys are getting trolled and you're mad at me about this. And when raids come out, you're all going to go like, all the people who go, no, I do 20k DPS. All the people who go like, I do 20k DPS are going to go, oh, what is this? Nerf. ArenaNet ruined the game.
Okay. In that case, some people were commenting on this throughout the stream, and it kind of segues fairly nicely from that. Would you like to comment on why you were as, say, confrontational, shall we say, in your videos towards certain people in the community, such as Nike and Sporge and other members of the community, because there is a good explanation for this. You've told us. Maybe you would like to explain it to the stream.
Yeah, well, for people who have been following me since the beginning, know that I never actually went into a confrontation with anyone before, except once 2 years ago when I did a... Why is my face doesn't matter. I only attacked the topic like once in 3 years until recently. And there's a rule on the unwritten rule of the internet: never get involved unless you're doing it for the views. A lot of people think I'm doing this for the views, but everyone who knows anything about YouTube knows that if I want to do anything for the views, I wouldn't be doing Guild Wars in the first place. There's literally no profit to be had out of Guild Wars. The only reason I'm doing this and I actually feel bad about doing it is out of principle. I get absolutely nothing else, and not even ArenaNet, who I'm sort of fixing the game for them, the perspective on the game, because in my opinion, I have a question for you guys. Now that you've seen the new build system and the new PvE system, do you actually believe Icebow and all the other exploits were a mistake? Do you actually believe developers who are capable of creating that build system and that PvE system did like, oops, we allowed something with 80k DPS in the game. No one will notice.
I think they didn't intend it. I think they didn't intend it. So it's not they weren't going out saying, aha, yes, we'll leave this in the game. I think it was just, they didn't realize how powerful it was going to be, especially with line casting, which is obviously...
I will say this. I do think originally it was unintended. Unfortunately, ArenaNet has known about its power or its overpoweredness for a very long time and did nothing to change it or fix it.
Yeah, that was quite unusual.
Then they said they were going to nerf it, and then they buffed the other skills instead.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse for this.
I think the problem started from them not knowing their audience well enough, because I don't think they ever expected people like me to come along and play Guild Wars 2 and just break the fucking game. I don't think they ever expected people like Goku to come along and solo Lupicus with one finger with the UI turned off. I think they expected most of the people to be shit and wipe over and over like MMOINkS does, send him hate mail.
Fair enough.
But I think that's really what the problem was, and then it turned out to be kind of not what they expected, and so they just kind of didn't know what to do for a while. And there were certainly people that wanted to fix it. There were people like Robert Troda who actually wanted to put mechanics into the game, and he got fired. So, I mean,
yeah. So I would say that. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Teapot asked me why I was the way I was in my videos. I am aware that I was going up against a community, a smaller community who remained for the grind, who liked one-shotting bosses with the Icebow, and who was lied to about the damage numbers for a really long time by multiple people. So in order to match, in order to have, it has to have enough of an impact to draw attention in 2 videos, enough attention, enough impact to match misleading information offered by multiple people over 2 years. That's not an easy thing to do, especially since the majority of people would rather believe a simple lie than a complicated truth. For a complicated truth, you have to sit through like 40 minutes of math to get what's going on. If I would have posted just the math, the majority of people would go like, by the 3rd minute, will go like, nah, this is boring. And then I worked for 2 months getting the best footage out of a lot of people and adding all the numbers and making the script. I did that for nothing. People were like, we don't understand, we do 20k DPS nerf raids because they're too strong. That's not what I intended. I intended to fix the perspective, to get people to realize that everything they've been told about damage in Guild Wars 2 is actually just a lie, to get ahead on YouTube and in the community and stuff like that. Because Nike and Sporge and who else? Obal, DNT Obal, who recently published a build, a Revenant build, which does 25k DPS. And in the first 10 seconds of the video, you can see a spreadsheet with 25k DPS that no one sees the math for. And you can hear him saying, you do 15k DPS just by auto-attacking and nothing else. He literally said that. It's easy. It's easy to make a fucked up build, or let's say it's not a fucked up build. Let's just say you make a build and then you go, let me read all these things that says here, which anyone can do, and then let me put a spreadsheet with some DPS, which no one can verify and doesn't resemble reality, no one can prove, and I won't even show the math for, and I'm so strong. It's easy to do that. You can do that in half an hour, and then you bullshit the community some more. But to actually tell the community what the DPS is, when to use the build, how to use the build, in which situation, that takes a lot of time. And as a single individual, I cannot compete with multiple people who like to go, look at me, I just made this bazillion DPS build, I'm going to show it to you in 5 minutes, fuck Nemesis. I cannot compete with multiple people who do that.
I think that's how we end all of our sentences.
Yeah, zero.
Yeah. I actually have a question before we get into that. Talking about this Obel build and his 25k DPS, the build that he suggests that does that. Brazil, you did a build. You did a Reaper build. Revenant build, excuse me. And actually you did some tests, right? So what were the conclusions that you came to?
So
for those who don't know,
25k DPS is killing a target golem with one auto attack chain.
Okay.
Has anyone ever seen that?
I have not.
That's 3 hits. That's killing a target golem with 3 hits with an auto attack chain. That's what 25k DPS looks like. So, I mean, the problem that I have with what Obel is advertising is that I am not thoroughly convinced that switching between Malix and Shiro and using Unrelenting Assault, mainly using Unrelenting Assault, I don't think Unrelenting Assault is a DPS increase over auto-attacking. From everything I've tested, it's not been. From just single kills, my single kills by myself were about 12 seconds. With only auto-attacking, with Unrelenting Assault, they were about 14. So that's a little bit different. I didn't do like 10 kills in a row with that, but even like out in the real world and stuff, just like fucking around, like I don't really think Unrelenting Assault, especially if you're focusing on one target and there are more around, you're going to bounce between them. Now, if you need to evade an attack, yes, why would you not use Unrelenting Assault? Because it's going to evade and damage stuff at the same time. But I think, and from what I have observed, just auto-attacking with Revenant is probably the best way to do DPS with it. That being said, with Spotter, Frost Spirit, Empower Allies, Banner of Strength, Banner of Discipline, 25 Might, Fury, some boons, I was able to get 12.5k DPS with PvP gear on the indestructible target golem that has heavy armor. And I was able to get that very consistently. I did kills. I did series where I killed the golem 10 times in a row. That took me about 63 seconds. So that was 12,519 DPS. I did 5 kills in a row, which took about 31 seconds on average, and that was like 12,700. And then just killing it once, that was 12,200. So.
And that's auto-attacking.
That's just auto-attacking. And I should also say permanent quickness, because I had permanent quickness too. So that's a big thing. So,
of course.
What?
I was going to ask, what do you think that would extend to a potential maximum with
Yeah, so-
Ascendeds and so on.
I'm also not convinced that PvP
7,
stats are 20% lower. I think they're more like 15 to 16% lower. I've had some people who are very mathematically inclined that have math degrees that are like that study math, etc. Check into that, and they say 15.8 to 16.2%. So I'm more inclined to believe that over the 20% that I've heard from other people. So basically, you could just take that, and you could also add in like probably 8 to 10% for vulnerability, because I didn't have permanent vulnerability, and add that to the 12.5k DPS, and you could probably get 15, maybe a little bit higher. But again, that's on an indestructible target golem. That's not fighting Uncle Tom at like a level 70-something fractal, where he has shitloads of health, where he has lots of armor, where your auto attacks are going to be doing like half, and where you're going to be dying to poison.
And condition damage does not get crippled by armor.
Right.
Yeah, but again, if we're talking about possible raids coming up, I'm going to say that probably a lot of bosses are going to have some sort of condition removal and condition
Maybe.
transference. So that's the one thing about conditions that is much worse than power, for example, is that you could stack a lot of conditions on something that takes a lot of time, not a lot of time, but some time, and if it all gets removed in one go, that's bad.
Exactly. I said 100 times, people stop playing the game based on math, which is so fake. You can't even scale it to retain conclusions, which gives out some unrealistic numbers that no one has ever seen, not even the best case scenarios.
Yeah,
Play the game based on the mechanics.
Exactly. I don't see. Do people actually refute that?
Yes.
I don't see how they can refute that.
I didn't mention this earlier. Like the percent increase from 12,519, which was like my average, to 25,000 is a percent increase of 99.97.
It's a big percent increase.
You're just bad at the game, Brazil.
Even if you take even if we're generous and we take 20% from PvP gear, and even if we're generous and we add 10% from vulnerability, when in reality I had like 15 to 18 stacks of vulnerability, and like even if we're borderline ridiculous and add every single possible buff and assume I have 13 boons 100% of the time, 25k DPS on a rotation that I'm not even convinced is better than auto attack is like a little bit. I don't know. I think that's kind of out there. I'm not gonna say Obel's retarded, but I'm gonna say that that's a little bit out there, and I don't believe that number is like anywhere near possible to get.
Well, at the end of the day,
Can
all we would require is Obel, if you do happen to see this,
Yeah.
simply record yourself attacking the a golem and see if you can get more than 12.5k.
Yeah, I'm not saying I.
Well, wait a
refuse
minute. I want to
believe this
see what was the top bill in a vacuum. I guess at what 25k.
Yeah. 25.
I want to see.
I
I want to
like
see
to see-
25k.
I'd like to see 25k. I'd like to.
That's the
believe
thing.
That's
The
possible.
problem. Speaking to all enders now, can you put on screen the images with Ranger and Necro? Perspective on
yeah.
Ranger and Necro?
Okay.
For 2 years, people believed the math so religiously. They were fanatic about the math. I don't think you can see. If you Google Guild Wars 2 Necromancer is bad, Guild Wars 2...
Oh no!
Yeah.
No, I do you just want the Google thing? Do you just want the Google thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Google
Okay,
stuff.
right, great. Okay, good.
If you Google Ranger is bad, Necromancer is bad, there's hundreds of thousands of replies. they believe the math so religiously that they actually excluded. This is the only game in which people actually excluded entire classes out of their plays, classes which were their only flaw was that they couldn't summon ice bows. And like, even now, people think, oh, Necromancer is crap. Yesterday, I was trying to do an extreme mode to kill Mordermoth in extreme mode. And I formed a group. It was really late. I just formed a group. And I had a guy who had 24,000 achievement points. It was Revenant. And I had 3 Necros, 2 Necro friends, myself, and him on the Revenant, and I had another Ranger. And they kept dying non-stop. And I tried to solo, I couldn't solo. And at one point he said, there's too many Necros. I said, actually, that's really okay because we have Well of Power and it gives you boon removal for the condition removal for the entire party. And it's all fine. And just stick together and it's fine. And then he said, are you fucking kidding me? Necromancer is the worst class in the game. And at that point, Batresh instantly tried to kick him. And I said, wait, let him stay. And he canceled the kick vote, and then he said, fuck you, scrubs, and exited. He voluntarily left. The guy with 24,000 achievement points, and he had 140 mastery levels. So, hardcore player who thinks Necromancer is the worst class in the game. Still thinks that. So, why did this happen? Because the math, which only works on paper, gave out some numbers, which differ from reality. And now the entire mentality of the game is the people actually believe the math and they have unrealistic expectation and then take bad builds and do 2k DPS and they think they do 20k DPS and then they kick people who actually bring a proper build and everything is really, really, really bad. And the only person who says anything, you guys remember in the beginning I was the only one who was saying these things. Eventually, I showed the truth to Brazil. Brazil saw the light, and now you guys saw the light, and more people would see the light, but it was just me. Everyone was like, oh, we do 20k DPS. Let me show you what must happen if you do 20k DPS. Can you put on screen the real HP values, please?
Yep.
If the math is anywhere near as correct, I have a gift for the elite. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, pause for a second.
Yep, sure.
If the math is correct, Sinister Engineer does 20k DPS, Berserker Warrior does 30k DPS, and Staff Elementalist does 20k DPS without Ice Bow. 2 Sinister Engineers, 2 Staff Elementalists, and 1 Berserker Warrior should have a combined group DPS of 94,909 without Time Warp or Ice Bow. That means Bloomhanger has to die in 22 seconds. Can anyone kill Fractal 50 Bloomhanger in 22 seconds without Ice Bow or Time Warp? Can anyone do this? Can any of the elitists now watching do this? Show us that the math is real. Go on.
Okay.
Mossman has to die in 18 seconds. If the math is real, Mossman has to die in 18 seconds. Based on the real HP values, which were taken by... I know a guy who knows a guy who hacked the game, let's say. You can go on.
Okay. What is next? This guy. Brazil 10 seconds.
This guy has to die in 10 seconds. If the math is relevant, Ascalonian Fractal 50 has to die in 10 seconds. 10 fucking seconds. He has under 1 million HP. Bloomhanger has over 2 million HP. This guy has under 1 million HP. And the Zerker meta, the build that people were using, killed the Bloomhanger in I don't know, 27 seconds, and take like 40 seconds for this guy, which has half HP. if the Zerker meta is real, should have been the scale should remain, should be the same percentage. So if you take 27 seconds at Bloomhanger, you should take 13 seconds at this guy. You should take 13 seconds. Can anyone kill me? Captain Asim.
Can anyone kill you?
Don't ask Nike.
Captain Asim for me in 14 seconds. Anyone with ice bows. Can anyone kill this guy in 14 seconds? Please show me. Nike, anyone? Purple Miku, Seshi, anyone? Goku. Kill this guy for me in 14 seconds.
We have a video that claims to prove a high DPS from Particlar. Should we put that on the stream?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched it. It's pretty good.
Okay. In that case, talk for a little bit. I just need to set this up to get this on the stream.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The calculations that the meta, that math in a void calculations don't mean anything. They can be even be used for comparison reasons because the mechanics of the fight, the armor, the how much time you dodge, the invulnerabilities, the protection, the everything changes. Absolutely everything.
And this is a very good example of that with the Ascalonian factor, because
exactly.
this guy indeed has permanent protection.
You can't deny these facts. You can't deny these facts. You absolutely cannot. This is literally hacked game, and this is the accurate, 100% accurate value of the real HP value of this boss.
But to a certain extent, they could. I think it's the DPS calculations can account for this protection. You know, this is not a big deal. I mean, I doubt if you talk to the elitists, they would acknowledge the fact that there is protection on this boss. So as a result, it's going to take power builds longer to kill it. I don't think that's really a big deal, because this is to a certain extent there is an exception, but every single boss is an exception, and that is, I think, the issue you have with the DPS calculations, because it doesn't consider the mechanics of the fight, as you say. But to us, in some cases, it can be applied because you can account for those in your calculations approximately. I think.
Well,
you can't account for teleports and Mothman stealth. The damage doesn't even register in the combat log. So the only way I managed to launch a hypothesis of how much damage I do is based on my Mossman solo, because I know the real HP value, and if I divide by the time I took to solo him, I'm going to take the DPS out of the fight, regardless of what's in the combat log. That's a different approach. Sorry, Brazil, go ahead.
That's all right. Inks played WoW. Inks probably knows what sims are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sims take into account like dodge times. They take into account like travel times for projectiles, like boss mechanics. They throw in like expectations of not being able to do DPS, or like reduce DPS, and they do calculations based on that. So I don't think anything like that has ever existed for Guild Wars 2. I don't know if it ever will, because that takes a lot of work to make.
A lot. Yeah.
And it's like you have to do that for like every fight.
It also wouldn't be approved by ArenaNet in any form whatsoever.
Right.
Ever. And I realize that some people are... I realize some people really don't like this whole DPS thing, but these kinds of... And it wasn't just World of Warcraft. There are plenty of MMOs out there that allow you to use either some sort of DPS meter or a third-party DPS meter. And there are some inaccuracies with those. They are not 100% perfect, don't get me wrong. But it puts to rest or quells some of these inaccurate numbers in the sense that you can always gauge on how well you're doing versus somebody else. If somebody was to make a build video for those games, they would say, here's my DPS meter, here's how much time it was done, and you can look at the breakdown of skill usage and like very detailed ways of breaking down the actual damage, the rotation, etc., to find out the most efficient way to deal that damage when talking about that. Guild Wars 2 is very different in the sense in a lot of how the game plays, but those meters still exist. They're just not legal to use, even though people do use them quite often in this particular game.
And I say that the community has an unknown percentage. An unknown percentage of the community are casuals. It's nothing wrong to be casual. It's perfectly fine. The problem is when you're casual, but you think you're God. That's a problem.
That's me.
And so many people took the math literally. And so many people, even now in the chat, even after my videos, even after so much undeniable proof, even after the people who made the math actually went back on their word, they no longer support their math. People still defend the math. And people, that's why I call an unknown percentage of the community casual. You, as a developer, you have a build that does 25k DPS. You have a class that does 25k DPS, and then you have a warrior who does 13k DPS. And you go like, well, this is balanced. In what world would that work? They don't balance the game based on math? That's insane. Do you actually think every time they make a modification, they go through all the calculations and modify all the values? That's fucking insane. No one does that. Every time they would change a small thing to a skill, they would spend 2 days calculating shit. That's fucking absurd. No, they change a small thing and they have their own custom made damage meter. They have their own damage meter. No one takes the time to make the math every time they... It's impractical. It's
Are you saying
absurd to even
ArenaNet
think that.
uses macros?
Oh no, they're breaking their own rules.
does.
What?
No.
Well, if they're doing their own DPS calculations, they're probably using macros to do the best possible calculations. So
They probably are. They probably are. The thing is, whenever they change something, they probably have a few golems they insert and emulate a few scenarios, and the damage meter is already in the game. It's in PvP. It's a rudimentary form of damage meter, but when you go like, what killed me, it shows you what skill did what. Think about how insane. Everyone should think about this for a second. How insane it would be every time they balance a single skill from a single build, from a single class, to go and do like 15 pages of math calculation. That's fucking absurd. It's unheard of.
no, they probably have it
No
all
one
built
does
in already.
math except
For sure.
for the elitists.
Yeah,
It's-
it's 100% sure that the people in charge of balance in ArenaNet have built-in tools to aid them in making sure things are balanced. For sure, it's.
Yeah, I would assume so.
But this is the thing about this whole conversation that I don't quite get. I still can't believe that people do think that the perfect condition DPS being shown on these videos are exactly what you're going to get every time. If you're telling me that people say that, but I can't see how that's possible.
I think that most people here,
Put on
watching the
screen-
stream or whatever, I don't necessarily believe that they do, but there is definitely a percentage, if you go into any LFG, who really believe they're doing 25k DPS, regardless of the numbers that are popping up on their screen that would make them think otherwise.
Should we watch this video? Because this video,
Yeah,
I believe it was
Yes, of
referenced
course.
as a proof of a very high DPS. So
After that, I would like to have the video. Does the combat log appear as well? Because I want to calculate the real DPS for it.
It looks
well,
like-
I mean, yeah, the combat log is
Showing
being
up.
shown here. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, afterwards, after this podcast, you can go ahead and add it up if you want.
Okay.
So
I'm
right.
actually curious.
Okay, 29,700 DPS apparently. Crikey, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. Damn, does look like
Those
quite a lot of
numbers.
damage. Honestly, that's a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
Do. Look at that Bloom Hunger getting wrecked. And this is in what is that? 56? I can't see.
That's
it, bro.
fucking ice bow. That doesn't count. I already calculated 28.
We talked
DPS
about
for
Ice Bow already.
But it's been nerfed though. This is post nerf.
Post nerf. It's
Yeah,
still,
so it's with Tempest.
It's still, and anything with a large hitbox is still very usable. Not as overpowered as it was, but it still does a lot of DPS.
Well, I mean, as we're
What?
what's going on?
Everything is so funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here we go.
19.5k DPS over 72 seconds. The numbers are there. I obviously.
I'm very. If
I
part
trust his math.
If the maker of this video is still in chat, did you add these up from the combat log out of interest? I mean, I guess you did. You don't appear to have any kind of add-on. Showing it.
Well, 19.4. Can you put on screen multiple calculations, multiple showing of DPS with ice bows?
Yeah. Is that
from Warrior?
I think it is. I'm not sure exactly what thing you're referring to, but I think it might be.
When I showed without ice bows, with 2 ice bows, with 4 ice bows, what happens?
You know, it'd be great if that was like the greatest troll video ever, and they sped up the footage by like 20% or something like that.
He posted it. He posted
If I stream, if I rip the video, I can see if it's sped up, if it's sped up or not.
I'm not sure this is.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said. Ice bow.
Oh, I see some rips.
This is small ice bow.
Right.
Ice bow was supposed to do 28k DPS in total. Let me find it for you.
Yeah, which one is it? I don't know which what you're referring to here. Quite to be honest.
Multiple math results in a line.
Yeah, that's the one I went to. 15 seconds into the third video.
Can you let
right?
it play for a second?
Yeah, sure.
If not, I will find it again for you real quick.
Okay. Well,
I'm fucking tired. Holy shit.
Do you think Scrapper DPS will be viable with Hammer? And is it this one? Do you want this one? I can't get rid of that annotation though. Actually.
No, I'll find it 1 second.
Okay.
I'm looking at the video now. This is not proving their point. This is actually proving my point, which is so weird. I will. 21 minutes and 15 seconds, please.
In part 3, yeah?
In part 3, yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Is this correct?
Back a few seconds. 21 and 15 seconds.
What?
Just can you move it manually?
No, I can't, unfortunately, because of the way it works. How many seconds do you want to go back? Well, 5 seconds or something?
10.
Okay. Hang on. Oh, there we go. That.
Okay.
Is that good enough?
As you can see, someone said you have me. You have always been wrong. Please realize this. No one's getting carried by ice bows or fire a great sword. Necromancer is not more DPS than a warrior. People aren't delusional. You are. Stop surrounding yourself with bad people that think the same way you do. Okay, and you can let it play now.
Okay. Right. Off we go.
Stop.
There we go.
So Brazil's DPS was 9,561. And we already established it's about the same DPS as the world record holder Narc. And since we know the real HP values of Bloomhanger, we can estimate an average value of his party members, which were at 12,761 without a single ice bow. Go on.
All right.
With two ice bows, the fight becomes much shorter. Therefore, the same HP gets killed faster. The team's overall DPS is higher, and the average DPS of players is 16,333. And go on.
All right. Let's add another ice bow.
And with 4 ice bows, the ice bow carrier DPS is 28,390. So all that the person who showed this video is telling me is that they actually nerfed Icebow that doesn't do 28,390 DPS. Icebow Ice Storm does 80k DPS, but since you only use it once for 3 seconds, your overall DPS is 28,390 because the fight is not 3 seconds, is 17 seconds. So, yeah, they nerfed Icebow. So now we know that on Bloomhanger, you no longer do 28,390 DPS in 17 seconds. You only do, how much did he say he does?
After 72 seconds, I believe it was about 19.7k DPS, roughly.
19.17k DPS. So he didn't prove that the stuff Elementalist does without Icebow and Time Warp 20k DPS. All he did prove was, he actually proved what I was saying, that Icebow carries on bosses with large hitbox and light armor. So I thank you for the video.
Well, I will ask Particlar. Is that how you pronounce that? Does anyone know how to pronounce that? If he wishes to respond to that, I'm not sure he's still here though. Particlar. I don't know.
Particular. Ticklar.
I think he may not be here anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, there we go.
There he is.
Ah,
He actually has a job, unlike me.
yeah,
So
he's
he's
actually
working.
He's actually
Fuck
doing
your stupid job.
doing real work. I'll let DeRoya reply.
Oh.
Oh,
He's got to go, sadly. Well, enjoy.
All right, enjoy your job.
Who's had to go?
Get that delicious money. The guy who made the video.
Oh.
He was in chat,
Well,
but he has
this
to
is
go.
going to be uploaded on YouTube, so you can find your reply there.
Yeah, sure. Cool. So no rush. All right. Is there anything else we need to discuss? Is there anything you want to bring up, Nemesis?
Yeah.
Okay. Boots, go.
Long story short, no one does the DPS advertise to you. People are lying to you to get ahead in the community, and they're making you use inadequate builds in bad situations. It will get you killed. It will make you feel like the game is too difficult. And yeah, that's about it.
Or
Okay.
or the math is valuable in some respects because you get to see what the possibilities of certain builds are, but aren't very useful all the time. So you should see what the mechanics of every fight is before deciding on a build.
Does it really show you the possibilities, though, if you can't replicate it?
Yeah, because you might be able to replicate it in some cases.
I think to a certain
No,
extent.
you can't. You can't replicate. You can never replicate 20k DPS. Can't. The guy
yeah.
just tried to show me.
Or
but
you could
it
get
still
close
works.
to it.
Yeah,
If
but
the guy
it can-
has,
Get
Like-
close to it.
you
It
can
can
still
show
have the
you the
same build
path.
and not replicate 20k DPS, but you'll still have the highest DPS because you're using the build.
But people use the math to judge what class they will take.
Right.
And
right.
the problem is the engineer does 20k DPS on paper and 10k DPS in reality. Necromancer does 14k DPS on paper and 12k DPS in reality. So on paper, the Necromancer is like so much weaker than engineer, but in reality, it's actually stronger on bosses with light armor.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good point. That's a good point. That because of these calculations, it does put bias towards or against certain classes. When in reality, if you're in the situations, perhaps the Necromancer's better, or et cetera, et cetera.
It's not about being better. The being better is so small that it doesn't matter, and it comes down to individual skill. It's about using the correct build for the correct encounter, for the right encounter.
Right.
Because if you're going to go squishy power builds versus bosses with heavy armor, with power invulnerability shields on them that one-shot all meleeers in an AoE, then that's stupid.
Yeah, for sure.
You should
Yeah.
not do that.
Yeah.
All classes, I believe, all classes are more or less equal because this game is so dynamic that you can never have 100% balance between all classes. There will be like a plus minus 5% DPS difference between classes using the correct build for the encounter. But people should go away from the math and discriminating classes and start looking at mechanics and use the correct build for that mechanic, for that encounter, regardless of the class.
I agree.
There are classes.
I agree.
All classes can have power
agree,
builds.
but-
All classes can have.
But it's
condition builds.
possible that because of the mechanics, you can't say that every fight, every class is going to be equal to each other. You could say
No, I just said.
exactly, possibly that because of the mechanics, some classes are going to be much worse than other classes.
Not really. All classes can do pretty much good condition damage. All classes can burst pretty much good.
Yeah.
And you could say that a Necromancer can burst much higher than a Warrior when Lich form is up. True, but then Lich form goes down
There's a cooldown.
sometimes, and it evens it up.
Yeah.
It evens it up. So it's not a single meta. There is no one meta. People should get that out of their heads.
Yeah,
There
I
never
agree.
was a meta.
No single meta, however, showing what these builds could do is useful, I find, because there are many encounters in the game currently that don't require you to do that much mitigation, and doing this damage is useful. Even though you won't get 20k DPS because something might have protection or higher armor than the golem, it's still the highest DPS that you could do to this current thing.
Yeah, some encounters require bursting builds.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Your build should be tailored to the encounter.
Absolutely.
I completely don't even agree with that at all.
Really?
I think you should play whatever the fuck you want to play. And if you don't like the game, go play something else. And if you do like the game, then just keep fucking playing it and enjoy
Well, that's
it all
true.
you
Actually,
want.
Brazil, you're making a good
Okay.
point. This was your point from before with
This has
with the
always
fractal
been my
instabilities.
point.
With your
Every
with
every
the fractal instabilities.
no, shut up. Every
No.
video that I've ever released, every build video that I have ever made, anytime I've ever given anybody advice anywhere, it has been how I have enjoyed the game. That's why I've done it, because that's what I like to do. And if people want to go fucking play a nomad druid with monk runes and want to run around and do that, I have a friend that does that. If that's how she wants to play the game, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. If she
Agreed.
is happy, that's just fine. It's a video game. You should have fun. If
If
your
you're
hobby
happy.
is watching My Little Pony and wearing a fedora, I don't care. Do it.
I need a
Agreed,
fedora.
but Brazil, that's if you're happy. But then you just, like earlier on in the stream, you were going about the instabilities, saying, I want to stack with my friends, but they're putting in these instabilities
Yeah.
that makes it impossible for do that. Fuck the developers.
No, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's fine though, because you associate with people who don't mind that you play that way. You associate with people who want to
Yeah.
play the same way you want to do. It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, okay, let's suppose if there was a group of people that say, yeah, we do 8.3 million DPS. If they all agree on that, they're not really harming anyone. But the problem is when they start kicking people for saying that they do less DPS than that. They can play however they want, as long as they don't try and force everyone else to play that way. I think that's the main issue.
I agree with Brazil. People can play whatever they want. Doesn't matter. There's room for everyone. What I'm saying, I should have been more accurate about this. Don't use inadequate builds for the encounter and then kick other people while claiming you do a DPS that no one has ever seen before. That's what you shouldn't do.
Fine, but now a very important question.
Stop believing bullshit is something that everyone should do in general.
But a very
Play
important
whatever you
question
want.
now
Just don't believe bullshit. Yes?
is if people are playing the way Brazil thinks everybody should play, which I kind of agree with anyway, what do you do when they want to join your group that is trying to defeat something in raids?
I usually, in raids is a completely different setting. But if I go to Pug AC with a friend, I was helping a friend get monk
Oh, yeah.
raids.
Yeah.
And I
But
went
I'm
in
talking about
Pug.
raids.
Yeah, in a raid, I'm going to be playing with. In a raid, when raids come out in Guild Wars 2, I'm going to be playing with people who have played Guild Wars 2 for about a month.
Okay.
But they have raiding experience in other games. That's what I care about. I'm probably going to be playing with someone who only does PvP because he actually understands how the fucking game works. He doesn't just go up to a boss and use Ice Bow and expect it to die. I'm going to be playing with people who aren't good at PvE. I'm going to be playing with people that are good at Guild Wars 2 and that know how raids work.
Right.
I'm not very interested in playing with pugs who have no idea what they're doing for raids because I'm not going to enjoy that. But if pugs want to get together and organize things and figure stuff out together and learn on their own, I don't have a problem with that.
Of course not.
I'm not going to infringe on their fun, and I would hope that they don't try to infringe on mine.
So yeah, it brings up an interesting sort of parallel that you have the idea that everybody should play the way they want to play with whatever build they want to play with, but at the same time, as long as they're not in my group, because I want to actually get this shit done.
Oh.
Well, I think when it comes to raids too, there are going to be confines that you're going to have to. You can play anything you want. You can play any way you want, as long as you can be successful within the confines of the raid. In other words, if you hit that DPS in rage timer,
It's Toon Dark Magician.
rage timer, then sure, play whatever you want, as long as everybody else you're playing with doesn't mind playing that way.
People should remember, if you don't play just as good as the casual Brazil in the fight that was displayed on screen, if you don't attack non-stop a boss with light armor, and you don't do 52k damage on your 100 blades, you will not have more DPS than 9k. You will do 9k DPS if you play as good as the casual Brazil. If you can play better, if you see higher numbers on screen, then you have 10, maybe 11k DPS. If you hit the boss once and then you run around a bit, your DPS is probably about 4, 5k. If that boss, if that encounter is a boss which has heavy armor and protection, your DPS is probably around 1 or 2k. It's not 15k, it's not 20k DPS. Your DPS is 2k, and you would have been far better off just auto-attacking with a condition build.
Figured out my problem. I should stop attacking once and running around for 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I usually slash dance. And then
No, if you guys ever pugged fractals, I have over 3,000 fractals pugged. Most people don't attack non-stop. Most people hit, run a bit, hit, run a bit, hit, run a bit. That's 50% DPS uptime loss. That's 50% DPS loss just from how much you don't attack.
Yeah.
So if you take 9k on light armor, that's 5k on heavy armor with protection, and you put that in half because the person is only attacking half the time, that's 2.5k DPS. The guy does 2.5k DPS. Would have been so much better just macroing a condition build. But the math will never show these facts. The math will never show these facts. You can't determine these facts with math. There is no math that shows such a scenario. But these scenarios are reality.
I think we have everything.
Except for Boots' Necromancer build.
No, Chronomancer. Okay,
Chronomancer
check it
build.
out.
Excuse me.
Here we go.
I call it the Resmer.
Oh, jeez. I'm already hating it.
For PvP. It's fantastic. Okay, so because they changed, what's it called? Seize the Moment to include you as the baseline, whatever it's called, to make it so that if you don't have an illusion, it still counts. You get 1 second of quickness. Because of that, you get your automatic quickness reses on call whenever you want. And then with the build, you get your bubble, you get your reflective bubble, you get stability, you give you and the guy evasion. Basically, as long as you're around a person when they go down, they will get back up no matter what. It's like the best reser ever.
Whoa.
Use it.
This is the best Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Brazil's showing me cards, and
This is the best Yu-Gi-Oh card ever made, and it will never be printed in English because the artist refused to censor the artwork. It's a dark magician girl with cleavage riding on a magic wand. I had to pay like $20 for this. to get it imported from Japan.
Why is that
It was
art so
worth it.
bad for
Yeah, I don't know.
people who don't speak Japanese?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But that's the best Yu-Gi-Oh card ever made.
Okay.
Okay, does that...
And it's sad. It's really sad that DNT are testing raids.
Well, I don't think that's sad. I don't think that's sad.
The sad thing is that they told me I didn't know what I was talking about when I told everyone that they were testing raids. And then fucking like 2 weeks later, ArenaNet told everyone that they were testing raids. That's the real sad part, but never mind.
No,
I will
doesn't know
well,
anything.
Okay,
I want to ask
go.
Brazil.
Yeah. What's up?
How many? When you were in D&D, were there? Can they hold their own without ice bows? Because if they go like, oh, ice bow, no, we cannot do it. Then the raids will be easy.
There are players in D&T that are good. No Trigger has been in chat like this whole time. No Trigger's a good player. There are people in D&T that at one point in time, they were good players and they quit playing the game and they haven't played the game in like a year and a half and they're not really good players anymore. And there are people in D&T who I don't really know how they're there, quite honestly, but they're there. So there's a mix.
There's this guy.
It's a bit of a melting pot. That's my. I'm not
Narc.
names, but he's fine.
Narc
He's
seems to
pretty
be
decent
good.
player.
Trigger, DNT Trigger seems to be good. He wrote something on my channel. He tried to convince me. He showed me some footage, and I said, "Well, you just proved my point." And then he deleted the footage, and then we got along a bit for a while, and we actually had a conversation. Because you guys know the elitists. Most of the time when they come on my channel, they go like, "Oh, Nemesis is stupid. Nemesis is dumb." Like, and I said, Don't make me test the damage you do in your actual footage to silence you, because I can silence you really easy. Just it's a lot of work to add all the numbers. Just fuck off and let me be.
I want to kind of comment on the Brazil and the raid testing thing. I've seen the thread that you say implies that they had raid testing. I wouldn't interpret it that way. To me,
the screenshot that was in it got deleted. It was literally Colin Johansson telling No Trigger that they were going to be testing raids.
Okay.
And it was posted 6 months ago.
Well, if that is the case, then that is
No Trigger
that's pretty
deleted the
conclusive.
screenshot because he knew that it would get out somehow because the D&D forums.
The thread itself was merely it was Nike posting, I believe. It was merely Nike
was posting
discussing the possibility that they could be testing raids and that people should be available to do so in the event that they're happening. He did not say that they were going to have access to testing raids, although if that screenshot is real, I would suppose that would contradict that. But in the thread itself, there was
I wish I had
no straight implication that is the case.
Yeah.
I already proved my DPS is better, my friend. And whoever says anything against me can prove that his claim DPS is real. So Goku, I see you go +1. Maybe you want to show us some. Can you put on screen those real HP numbers?
Yes, I can.
Goku might not be.
DNT.
Goku, maybe Goku didn't actually realize what he's supposed to prove, or Bob, who said no one takes Nemesis seriously ever since he says he does more DPS than a warrior, and then he goes back on his word saying that no one believed they were actually doing the advertised damage. So Goku, you take your other really pro friends and do this, like Ascalonian in 10 seconds. If you do this, I will give you my account and my YouTube channel. So before you talk, all you do is talk. And every time I invite you in a podcast, and every time I tell you, show me some footage, you go like, blah, 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 blah. You elitists can prove this, okay? And then you talk to me some more, okay?
Who the fuck cares about who's playtesting raids? Wait, chat's going too fast. Can you get over it and discuss actually meaningful stuff? Thanks, bye. I was merely attempting to clarify that the situation is not. From my perspective, it was not as clear cut as that seems. Although the screenshot with Colin would obviously contradict that.
Well, there's two guilds.
It's important that we don't just kind of go crazy and throw accusations left, right.
Sure.
But yes, Attuned is also testing raids, if that's correct, right?
Go Attuned.
ATT and DNT.
Yeah, lots of T's.
The T's.
What is this?
Yeah.
It's rigged.
I should have put a T.
There's no T's in my name.
Yeah.
That's the problem. None of us have. Mighty Teapot should be testing raids. He has T's.
Well, we have T time too. That's
yeah.
Teapot's
the rest of us don't have T's in our name.
Well,
we're screwed.
Would you guys say that the discussion has run its course and we can maybe get some questions, maybe even some challenges?
Let's get some fucking.
Is that okay, Nemesis? Do you think we've kind of exhausted the topics?
I just want to say that I get a bit worked up about this because I worked a lot on these calculations, and I'm frustrated because I shouldn't. Because from a YouTube point of view, any Guild Wars 2 content you put out is basically you're wasting your time. But I'm really frustrated that I did all these calculations, and I thought it would take me a lot less. So now I'm at the point like, if I fucking did this, I'm going to see it all the way. And then you have forum moderators who are not actually impartial, and then you have all these elitists which are greater in numbers, and all they do is talk, and they put out garbage, and then it's up to me to prove them wrong. Yeah. But I'm not going to take the time to prove wrong everyone who thinks they know something, because they actually don't. If they want to prove their claims are right, they can do so at any time. If they ever want to go against me in a debate, they can come online and do whatever we can have a discussion. They can prove they do 20k DPS with elementalists. They can prove they do 25k DPS with the revenant. Everything else they say is merely stalling, merely diverting from the point that they claim 25k DPS. They should prove it. So all this, Nemesis this, Nemesis that, I don't care. The only reason I get worked up is because I'm angry that I invested so much time and effort into a game which, from a commercial YouTube point of view, it failed. And not only that, when it comes to support from the company decides to support people who lie to the community and created this whole mess, other than the people who actually stood by the original vision of the game for over 3 years. And I'm talking about the fact that I didn't get in the partnership program even before I made these controversial videos. I should have gotten in the partnership program, but I didn't for no apparent reason. And the fact that Nike is in the partnership program gives him more credibility because he's like with the crew, and gives him more credibility to put out more bullshit, which will make all of you play really bad builds in some encounters and be really ineffective.
Have you applied, by the way? Have you applied to the...
Yeah, there's no answer.
Oh,
so,
that's unfortunate.
I don't know if they've answered anybody yet.
Oh, I see. Well,
so I could be wrong.
Like
on
I said,
that.
if anyone who doesn't prove their claims like I do, is just blah blah. Remember that. Okay. Everyone who's watching, if you see anyone say I do 15, 20, 30k DPS, prove it.
Ooh.
Prove it. What's so hard? I said 14k DPS, I showed 14k DPS. Stop blah blahing. I'm blah blahing. I'm blah blahing, and I'm going for the views, to attract more views, so my points get across. It's media. It's a marketing tactic. The other people, I don't know what they're blah blahing. They're blah blahing to stall for time and to divert from the subject. So,
Evil Washing Machine says D&T guides are clearly presenting perfect best case scenarios. A target with heavy armor is a target with heavy armor. Necromancers do not ignore the damage mitigation. It is the same for all classes. So if the Necro deals the least potential damage, when its damage is divided by the target's armor, it will still deal less real damage than a Revenant with twice as high potential damage. The only difference is condition versus direct damage, but their Condi DPS builds are also vacuum tested. Now, I think there's a big problem with that statement, is that it's disregarding how much of the time you can be attacking the boss. The vacuum still does not include the mechanics of the fight, and so maybe the necromancer weapons or the things that make it do DPS allow it to be attacking more often, which is kind of the I think this is basically Nemesis's whole spiel. So I might as well let you handle this one. How would you respond to that, Nemesis?
First of all, the math is not reliable, not even for comparison purposes, because the math in a void showed the engineer does 20k DPS, and it's not a condition engineer, it's a hybrid engineer. It showed it does 20k DPS, in reality it does 10k, and it showed the Necro does 14k, and in reality does 12k. So I wouldn't take to heart the comparison between different power builds. Also, it's not just the difference between power and condition builds. You also have to see the differences between range and melee DPS, because melee DPS will always have a handicap because you're going to dodge, at least dodge. Unless you're fighting something that is AFK, which can no longer be done because Ice Bow has been nerfed and the break bar is different than before. So no more free DPS uptime for meleeers. So it's not actually the case, what you said. The math doesn't resemble reality, and it's all over the place that you can't even scale it to keep the conclusions. So whatever the math says, reality could be totally different. And at any rate, even if some classes do a little bit less DPS than others in some situations, it comes down to individual skill rather than the actual class or build, because it's not going to be a difference between 25k DPS and 12k DPS. It's going to be like a difference between 14 and 13k DPS, which is 1k DPS difference, which is almost nothing, and it matters a lot more, the skill. And if you're going to kick that person by the time you find someone else, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage. Yeah.
Okay. How about this question? I have a Necro question. What position will Necros have in raids? What gear set should I start working towards? Oh?
It depends. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on the raid, basically. It's not about a single position. When Guild Wars 2 combat system broke away from the Holy Trinity system, they didn't go into something less dynamic, less complex. Well, they didn't. It just seemed that way because Ice Bow was better than everything in general. They went into something more complex. So it's not one predefined role. A Necromancer can be a condition AoE sustain damage dealer if you build it that way. If you need burst, you can always go for bursting. If you need range bursting, you go Death Shroud Leech Form. If you need AoE melee AoE bursting, you can go a Reaper build for melee, which is not with Dumbfire, by the way. It's something different. You have, like I said, like I always said, you have to build you have to build based on the encounter, not on the math. There is no best damage build, only best at.
Okay. Or I guess, Brazil, you have some kind of numbers on this.
Yeah.
The power, Reaper is pretty good with power, but is it also competitive with condition as well?
Yeah. I mean, Power Reaper realistically is probably like 9 to 10k DPS. Condition damage or hybrid is probably about the same. So just whatever you want. If you want to fill a damage role in raids, they've been very clear that raids are going to require support, control, and damage. It's a soft trinity. If you want to fulfill a damage role, there are different ways you can do that. If you want to fill a control role, like if you want to tank the boss and hold aggro on it, you can do that very easily with Death Magic and Cavalier's Armor. If you want to play a support role where like you heal people and you res them, then you can do that too. It's just what role do you want to fill and how do you want to fill it? There are lots of options.
Okay. There was some other things. I guess so. Yeah. So what gear set would you say? I guess Berserkers and I believe Vipers is very good as well.
Yeah, Vipers is really good for hybrid, and just for condition damage too.
Were there any
Viper's
more?
armor with Berserker runes.
So I'm
Something
told.
people don't seem to understand. No one told them since everyone is Zerker. Now that people are going to eventually they're going to accept condition builds and stuff like that. Because of the way it scales, condition duration is more valuable than condition damage in PV. So max out your condition duration and then go for condition damage for condition build.
I think that also depends on whether or not the boss cleanses. Like if you're fighting a boss that cleanses like every 5 seconds, then it doesn't make sense to have burn stacks that last for like 10 seconds. So there really aren't very many encounters where bosses cleanse. That doesn't happen very often. And if raids are going to be requiring condition damage, then it seems kind of silly almost to have bosses that cleanse. But that may happen. I don't know. So it's just going to... If you're fighting something that cleanses, probably just go with Sinister Armor or like something with main condition damage. Rabid, whatever. If it doesn't cleanse, then duration is important.
I'm going to contradict you here for the first time. Instead of having multiple sets of condition gear, have one set made for fights that don't cleanse, and at the fights that you have condition cleanse, just don't bring a condition build. Just bring a power build. So you
That's fair.
You have less amount of sets, because I already have 5 ascended sets, and if I'm going to do what Brazil said, which does work, I'm going to make another set, which I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
But what about, like in raids, you're going to need condition damage. Are you going to do enough condition damage not using condition gear?
It depends on the
set
encounter.
just for the encounter where the boss cleanses.
Where he cleanses, I see.
Yeah.
Veil Guardian doesn't cleanse from what I remember.
But some of the ones might.
Some of the other ones might. So yeah, I mean, 2 sets of armor is not a bad idea.
Okay, Boots, I believe you have to go now.
I do.
So...
Is that going to be a problem for the layout?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's...
We can fix it.
I can fix it. It's probably not going to... I don't know.
You can fix it by turning it off.
I can assure you that there is someone in this call that if people know his real name, he will never fucking escape it.
Oh.
Yeah, that could be a real bad thing.
Yeah, so let's
No,
not...
I don't. I already have 3 stalkers, and they found me on Facebook already.
Okay.
So
I'm not going to go just yet.
Okay.
Figure out a way to put a picture over Boots' face so that when he... Well, no, that's still going to screw it up.
No, it's just going to remove. Yeah.
There's a question about the aggro system, so they want to know how it works. And the answer is quite weird, actually. It can be on a boss-to-boss basis, indeed. For example, the Veil Guardian goes after the guy with the highest toughness. So... But I don't know. The aggro system is quite unpredictable. But I believe it will probably be on a boss-to-boss basis in
I
raids and stuff.
wouldn't say it's unpredictable. Each boss has a particular way that it draws aggro. It's just you have to figure out what that way exactly is. We know for the first boss, it's via toughness, right?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Is there other questions?
Yeah.
Oh,
I-
okay.
Was that a question?
It was a yeah.
I
There's
wasn't
one.
paying attention.
Okay.
It wasn't a real question.
Mad
It was
Tavish
like,
figured out my name somehow and fucking posted it in Twitch chat. So that's
And you shouldn't have said it's your name because no one would have believed
yeah.
you.
I guess that makes sense
You
now.
bastard.
Whoops.
People thought he was trolling.
Yeah.
Oh man.
This is I don't know. This is kind of a weird. No, I won't do that one. We'll do the. We've kind of actually covered that one in a previous thing. What other questions have we got? Well, I don't know.
Because my real name is Nike.
Oh my god.
Aren't you fortunate?
My real name is Arcing Arrow. Did you miss me?
I did.
Actually, we might as well address this. The mechanics don't. Seshi destroyed Nemesis's necro kills on both warrior and engineer solo in an actual situation in a fight that is actually quite suited for necromancer.
What's the question there? That sounds like a statement.
I mean, it is a statement, but I mean, is it worthy of response? What do you guys think?
He said, "I got what?"
Was the question statement?
It's kind of implying that the mechanics don't matter that much, and that Seshi was way faster than you, I guess, or destroyed
She
you.
was faster by 10 seconds. And
Okay.
the reason why he was faster was because I was using hybrid gear. And you guys literally didn't see the video. I know the guy who said this didn't see the video because in the video, I literally said, I soloed the Mossman not only to bait Seshi into soloing the Mossman, because he soloed the Mossman as well, I baited him, but also to find out, knowing the real HP value of the Mossman, I knew I had to solo him in order to get an estimate of how much DPS I do, because the combat log doesn't display the damage while he's in stealth. So the reason why I soloed him was both to bait Seshi into soloing it and to find out an average of how much DPS I can do on the Mossman. And when I was in a party, the combat log registered I do as much DPS as I did in my solo run. But in my solo run, I used a much weaker build. Also, when Seshi soloed the Mossman, he was faster by 10 seconds, even though he was using rabbit gear with a lot more condition damage than me. He had lower stacks, that means he played worse than me, but actually ended up soloing it faster because I had lower condition damage stat. So that literally proves that Mossman is easier to be done with condition builds. And Seshi helped me prove that. That's why I baited him into helping me prove that. So I literally said, Seshi, thank you. You helped me prove that. And after he soloed he soloed the Mossman, he said, take this Nemesis. And everyone like, Nemesis wrecked. I said, thank you. And everyone was like, what the fuck is Nemesis doing? I was thanking him because I baited him and he did exactly what I wanted. So, yeah.
You don't need to link it like 7 times, Mad Tavish.
What is it?
It's good.
What is it?
I don't know.
Well, why don't you take this one?
I don't know, but it's the same video over and over and over again.
Will Druid be worth playing at all in any content? You like
Raids.
Ranger Inks?
Yes.
Start
In
us
raids.
off.
There's nothing else to say in raids.
I've already tested this with people, and Druid is really good at doing what exactly didn't need to be done in Guild Wars 2 for 3 years. So it tanks and it heals, and that's going to be useful in about a week.
There you go.
Okay, let's see. Are there any more questions?
Nemesis straight
do you want
up
to be a
lying.
healer
I'm going
tank?
to take
Because
this.
that's
I'm
what
going
you
to
can
take
do.
this one. Nemesis straight up lying. Not only did Purple Miku recently said on my channel today, he said, I keep linking videos where I prove I don't know how much he said I do DPS, and Nemesis keeps deleting the links. Sometimes people link stuff on my channel and automatically goes to spam, or some people who got downvoted a lot for trolling me on my own channel, their comments automatically go to spam. So I personally go into the spam and approve those comments so that everyone can see the trash talking. And I immediately went to the spam and checked for links from Purple Miku. He said he has such a huge DPS on Bloomhanger. I'm like, why do you lie? Why do you lie in my face? If I wanted to mute you and delete your proof from my channel, I would also delete the fact that you said I deleted the links. So no one knows. If I'm going to be an asshole to you, I will delete all proof of being an asshole to you. And then he said, no, you lying piece of shit. And I took the time to go on his channel and search for Bloomhanger kills. And I didn't find a single Bloomhanger kill on his entire channel. So that fucker made me waste 10 minutes of my life searching for something that doesn't even exist. So to everyone who says I lie or blah, 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 I have video footage that proves everything I said. That's all.
Okay.
You can blah, blah all you want.
What's the best fractal skin? What's the best fractal skin?
I already linked
Sword.
it in chat.
Oh, what is it? Hang
Is
on.
it sword?
Put it up on your.
Ah, yes, you have the best Revenant apparently.
Can you
sword,
put it on
isn't
the
it?
stream?
Ah, it will take some time to do that.
Don't
I
worry
got
about it.
I got my sword just the other day.
The shitty one or the gold one, like I have.
Gold plated, baby.
You have a gold fractal sword?
No, I don't.
Oh.
It's silver.
I just need a hammer and I'm good.
I'm a fractal scrub, man. I can't have gold.
There
Yeah.
we go.
Oh,
It'd
there
take me 50 years to get gold.
That's his Brazil's Revenant. Look at it.
That's my Renovant.
Renovant. Yes.
Renovant.
It was all about Warrior being better in application.
I want to play Revenant, but there's too many Revenants in the group already. Too much Renovants.
Too many Renovants.
Well, do you think how fast do you think it's possible to kill the Mossman with an optimal Necro build then? Because here, of course, we have, I believe that's Seshi doing it in 4 minutes 28. Do you think that's possible to do as Necromancer?
4 minute, what? 4 minutes 28 on what?
With Warrior solo.
Could be. I have no idea. The new condition build is so insane. I burst stacked 30 stacks of poison and has 100% condition duration, and my god, 23,000 armor, 25k HP, 100% condition duration, and just a beast. And 3,000 condition damage. 3,000 condition damage is insane. So probably
I have a
can be
question.
done.
Why does
Yeah.
it matter if the warrior does it faster?
I don't know.
I'm just
cannot
wondering.
answer that.
Because that
I'm just wondering.
proves Warriors the best.
Well, then everybody should be playing warrior. Don't play anything else.
Sure. I mean, the soloing is it's kind of irrelevant, I guess, because that's not a common situation
I'm
to
just
be
wondering.
doing. It's just kind of a thing that people like to do, I guess, and it is pretty cool. It's pretty fast.
Awesome.
It's
the best class. Everybody
sad.
should play it.
When Guild Wars 2 came out, it had a chance to be something really, really good, and I thought I would ride the wave and do something, but you know.
I mean, I think it's cool if you're going to compare Necromancer versus Necromancer. I understand that. That's cool. But you're then going to compare like Warrior versus Necromancer. It's a different class. I don't get it. And
Sure.
if you're doing it because you want to say Warrior is better than Necromancer, okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Yeah, if you want to prove Warriors better than Necromancer, what you need to do is do some calculations on a target golem and make a spreadsheet.
Okay. I'm conscious that Boots has to go, so we'll take one or two more questions and we'll wrap up here because it has nearly been
Okay.
3 hours, guys.
Jesus, piss.
Yes. Let's see. Will Scrapper be relevant in raids? From what I was reading on the forums, didn't
want it to
seem
be.
like it would.
I mean,
I really hate Scrapper.
Oh, really?
it really just comes down to this. Do you want to play Scrapper in raids? If you want to play Scrapper in raids, then yes, you can play Scrapper in raids. If you are concerned that your group will only allow you to play the best possible build in the world, then maybe not, or probably not. I mean, are you really playing with a group where that's the only way they're going to allow you to play? Some people, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There will be groups where that is totally a thing. But does your group really fit into that sort of group? Because most people don't, to be quite honest.
I think to a certain extent, though. I mean, yeah, actually, I guess why not? I mean, do you think Scrapper DPS? Say if you had nothing but Scrappers for DPS, would that be enough to get through the raids? What do you guys think about that? I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't actually...
Scrappers?
Yeah, only Scrappers.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, I don't know, because I mean, is it? Well, I mean, is Scrapper kind of good enough? Would it just be a burden if it doesn't do enough DPS? Because I actually don't know how much DPS it does, honestly.
I'm not salty. So I'm saying, why so much salt inks? I'm not salty. But people ask those questions all the time. Can I play Scrapper? Can I play Reaper? Yes, you can play any of those. Those will be fine.
Should I be worried about being kicked for wanting to heal instead of being supporty chrono with damage? There may well be a fight where healing is necessary, but you want to pick who you play with. Really, you want to find people who aren't going to kick you, who are going to be nice to you. Join a guild of nice people, and you can try whatever you want. You know, if it doesn't work, you may have to do something else. But
if you like being a masochist, then maybe
just
don't.
like-minded people, and I can see. Is that
exactly?
Boots? Is that Boots
I believe
on
this
screen?
is. I think this is Arathorian. I believe
That looks a lot like Boots.
it does look like you actually.
Paladin
People
Boots.
who kick other people really fast are from they are from the percentage of the community who are a bit casual, but at the same time they think they are really elite and pro. So if someone is going to kick you instantly before you even get a chance to say anything, those people are probably not that skilled in the first place. A lot of the people, even now, that are really angry on screen and say NMS is this, NMS is that, because I showed them that they don't do 20k DPS and they were getting carried by Icebow. These kind of people who got carried with the Icebow are not exactly the kind of people you want to be doing raids with in the first place. So
The other thing, too, is somebody said something about world firsts. If you're asking whether anything is going to be viable or whether it's going to be part of the meta, then you're probably not going for world first anyway. So again, that becomes irrelevant. If you're going for world first, you don't need anybody else's opinion. You already know what you're looking for.
Okay, I guess that just about wraps it up. We have reached the end of the stream. I think we've addressed a lot of things today. Thanks for coming, Nemesis. It's good to have you back.
thank you for having me.
Hey, maybe if someone wants to step up to the plate and face you in an intellectual duel, maybe you will return and we'll do that.
Sure. Like I said, I will talk to my... I know a guy who knows a guy who can hack the game and get the real HP values. If anyone from DNT or anyone who's doing math calculations and advertises builds that do 20, 25k DPS, if they ever want to prove that, I will get the real HP value of a boss, and they can prove with their party composition, with their pre-made, with whatever, they can prove they can kill the boss in as many seconds as necessary to prove that their calculations are real. They can prove that anything or everything they have ever said is real. Really, really easy. No math, no requirements, no nothing. I will get the real HP values. I also offer to freely, I don't charge anything, I will add the real damage values of anyone who claims that does 20k DPS, I will add them live on Twitch for everyone to see, and we will finally see how things actually are in reality.
I think that still stands, though, eh? When you said if someone could prove to you something about the numbers, that you give them your account and also...
Yeah, my YouTube channel and my account.
Okay, great.
Crikey.
If someone shows me...
what, 25k DPS or something?
No, if someone shows me the Ascalonian boss on Fractal 50 dying 10 seconds without Ice Ball Time Warp, I will give them my account and my YouTube channel.
You heard it here. Seeing as you are the guest nemesis, would you like to tell us where we can watch your videos and follow you and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. If you just search for Nemesis Necromancer or I am One and I am Legion, you will find me. I will also stream after I'm done with my guides for the Necromancer class, and you can find me on Twitch on I am One and I am Legion on Twitch as well.
Okay, how about you, Brazil?
You can find me at youtube.com/PewDiePie.
Oh, wow.
PewDiePie! And
Cringe fists.
Yeah, just if you want to find me, just like, I don't know, Google Brazil GW2 if you really care that much. If you don't give a fuck, then neither do I. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. What about you, World of Enders /Boottspurr?
Hey guys, I am Boottspurr from World of Enders. You can find me at, my mic's on good, at youtube.com/World of Enders, or basically just that. Everything else doesn't really matter. And I'll talk to you later. It was it was fun talking to you, Nemesis. I haven't seen you on stream here before, and it's good to finally get to talk to you. It's always you come on whenever I'm not here. And you get 20 times the amounts of viewers.
See, that's why I added the drama. And it wasn't easy because my persona in general, I don't all that, so I had to practice it a few times, but it did the job. It did the job as expected. Yeah. More and more people are starting to question the numbers, and the game will be a lot better. One day, maybe people will thank me if Sporge doesn't take credit for that as well, because he already tried. Sporge said that everything I was saying, he was saying. He just said that. So that's... If I publish my builds, he's going to sell them to Dalfi again. I will publish 6 builds, and Sporge is going to sell all of them to Dalfi. Like, Dalfi, look what I have.
Okay, Inks. Yeah. You also make things. Why don't you tell us about that?
Not really. But okay. You can follow me at MMOINkS anyway, just because why not?
Boom.
Twitch, what the heck is the other stuff called? Twitter, YouTube,
Patreon.
Whatever.
You can follow his Patreon.
You can follow my Patreon.
For money.
Brazil's Patreon. Who doesn't follow Boots' Patreon because I don't think he has one.
I don't have one.
I should donate to Dante's Patreon, please.
Please
don't forget to get crit.
Get crit. And PewDiePie.
Okay. What a great,
finally,
what a great selection of guests. Beautiful, beautiful. I guess that leaves me. So if you've enjoyed this, why not follow the stream? We do all sorts of crazy things. We have incredibly intellectual discussions just like this one every Sunday with the wise sages to my, I don't even know, I guess left and right, depending on perspective. Yeah, I do loads of other things here. For example, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we pit people with randomly generated builds against each other, and they can win things. It's pretty cool.
What can I win? Give me money.
You can. If you simply create a free EU account, you could come and play with random builds. Oh yeah, you actually don't need. Yeah, you can actually just come over. Never mind. And you too could enter in Mystic Builds, which is exactly what it's called. The link has been posted by a Moderino. It's pretty good. I also make YouTube videos. You can go to those as well. It's pretty cool. I think they're okay. Some people like them. Some people do indeed like them. And I also tweet, like most of these fine gentlemen here. You should follow them all on Twitter as well. Of course, there are links to everyone here's channel below. You can find that in the Guild Wars 2 section. And I highly recommend you follow, subscribe, and then follow again. Every single one of them. That's
What the fuck?
what's going on.
The screen.
Oh yeah, the
Massive moobs.
Well, that's gonna be all for now, guys. We'll see you
I
all.
want to the last thing.
Okay,
Can I
go?
Can
Sure.
I end?
Absolutely, sure.
Everyone should ask for verification or on all the claims that the people you look up to make. If I claim something, ask me for proof. Anyone that claims anything should also provide proof. Now and ever. That's all. That's all you have to remember.
Unless the person you look up to is me, and just believe.
Don't
me at face
question
value.
anything. Listen and believe.
Go for
Listen
it.
and believe.
Yeah.
Some very wise words from Nemesis, and that is gonna bring it to a close. We're gonna host someone now, but in the meantime, let us wave goodbye. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye. And of course, thank you very much, Nemesis, for joining us here today.
Thank you
Okay.
for having me.
Ah, look at that beautiful Murloc. Okay, right.
Bye, well. Do it now.
I have to just wait for the delay to catch up. There we go. Host this guy. Right. Hang on. Let's wait till that goes through.